Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Jeremy's Got Fitness Podcast Radio Show, coming to you on this Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we have my man, Chris Brubaker, on the podcast. Before I jump in and harass him, a couple housekeeping things. Quick one. On the Jeremy's Got Fitness app, they are about 2 weeks into the Summer Advanced Metcon program. You guys can hop into that bad boy. It is free for app members. Everybody else will give you guys a week for free just to try it and rip your face off in the healthiest way possible. It's basically our Sunday Advanced Metcons mixed with our mandatory mobility program from a couple years back. We kind of alternate the days as we go. So if you're looking for something to do this summer that you can put in your back pocket, take with you to the hotel or on the road, this is the program for you. So if you guys want to pop in, jeremyscottfitness.app, that thing is in there. Plus all my weekly workouts updated every Sunday. I think we got 28 full programs in there now and like 3,000 full videos. So enough fitness to do for probably the next, 6 or 7 years, uninterrupted. Anything else on that, just ask you guys. And then again, quick shout out to my homies at AG1. You guys know the one thing I take every single day and I never miss. I try to eat as many fruits and vegetables as possible, but some days it gets a little tough. So this is the easiest way to cover the gaps in my nutrition. You still got to eat real food, but if you struggle to get everything, this would be the one thing I would take. If you guys want a free sample, 100% on us, hit us up. I will send you guys the free sample packs right to your front door. Monica will get them to you this week. Otherwise, if you guys check out the link, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott will give you a year supply of free vitamin D3 and K2, which you should already be taking, and 5 free travel packs with order 1. So again, if you want the free samples, hit us up. Don't feel weird, just ask. Otherwise, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott is in the show notes with all of our other sponsors for you guys. Look through it. Questions, ask. We're here to help you guys. That's it. So, Chris, welcome, my man.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. So we'll talk about DexaFit and all of the kind of sports science testing stuff you guys do here. But for anybody listening, origin story, however you want to attack it, how did you get here today?
Yeah, two reasons I'm sitting at this desk right now. One is my wife and I are longtime CrossFitters. We lived in the Bay Area for 25 years, and then our oldest son, who met a girl in college, and they won the relocation battle, and they live here, had our first grandkid. And so we decided to move out here to have a relationship with them. And as someone who used to get Dexa Scans in the Bay Area and has always been interested in sports science, when I got here, I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. There's other places that had DEXA scanners, but not like a real sports lab. And that's kind of what I've always wanted. I'm a longtime Silicon Valley marketing executive. I still do that. That's my day job. But my wife and I run DexaFit. She runs most of the day-to-day stuff there, but I'm there a lot. And mainly because we're interested in the data behind fitness, health, longevity. I kind of consider myself a disciple of like Dr. Peter Attia and some of the data and research that he espouses. If you think about, he always talks about medicine 3.0, and medicine 1.0 was just basically back to Egyptian times, what we thought of as medicine. And medicine 2.0 started with more of this pharmacology, and here's drugs to extend your life, et cetera, vaccines. And what we're really learning is that some of that stuff will extend your life, but like in a really bad state. Like if you're 75 and are disabled or feeble, and then they give you drugs and they make you live an extra 10 years, like, so what? And medicine 3.0 is really about living a longer, healthier life, being 85 and still being able to pick up your grandkids or play golf or put your own luggage in an overhead bin or walk up a flight of stairs without the threat of falling down. And so I just really buy into that notion of being preventative and proactive with our health and with our body. And I think that's what modern sports science is about. And I wanted to get into that. And so that's what we did.
Well, that's like kind of, I say too, like even if the quantity of the years were extended, but the quality sucks, What is the point? Like if someone is like, hey man, you can never do all these things, but you'll live to 100, but you'll be weak and you can't move. I'm like, well, I'd rather be like jacked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And die at 80, dude, and have had a great 80 years. You know what I'm saying? Like the the quality matters just as much as the quantity, if not more so.
Yeah, I hope I'm like 98 and I play golf the day before I check out. Like that would be a life well spent.
It is wild too, because like I have a neighbor. He lives 2 doors down from me. He's 100, still lives by himself, drives his own car every day.
Yeah,
dude's a fucking gangster. I'm like, I don't know what he did, like if he drinks vampire blood or like he killed people, but he's still going, which is impressive. The CrossFit stuff, like you guys did. Do you still do CrossFit? You did it for years, or?
Yeah, I did it for 10 years. I haven't done it since I moved to Arizona. When I first moved to Arizona, I'm a big soccer guy too, and I went out and I played and I tore my rotator cuff, and I had surgery. And I kind of, honestly, you know, I see all the signs here in this beautiful facility you have, like basically no excuses, do the work. And I use it as an excuse to stop doing everything that I wanted to do. So I really haven't done CrossFit at least in like a year and a half, but I'm a like Murph every Memorial Day guy. I'm a do the CrossFit Open every year guy, and I gotta get that back.
Yeah, no, yeah, we did Murph this year, which sucks.
Yes, it does.
I'm not in the weight vest too, just doesn't make it any better, and it was hot as balls this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, to run them, and again, do them in straight sets is how we did it. So it takes, I don't kip on pull-ups, so it's a journey. And we're there for, it's an hour plus.
Absolutely. That's a big self-limiter. Last time I did it before I hurt my shoulder, I got 59 minutes with the weighted vest, doing everything in order, but I did kip. And if I didn't kip, it would have been an hour 20.
Oh, yeah. You got to, either way, like you have to move at a pretty good clip, like to get that done.
Yeah.
That too, like how long was the rotator cuff, like recovery PT stuff?
So you're immobilized for about 3 weeks, so in a sling. Sleeping's the worst part of that. I did PT for about 4 months, and then I was essentially generally cleared. I can't do explosive stuff with my shoulder yet. That's like another 6 months. So I'm not left-handed. It was my left shoulder, so I wouldn't be allowed to throw a baseball, throw a football, etc. But full recovery is probably close to a year. PT is about 4 months. And while it's not great, I've done both my ACLs, and that's a lot worse. And I've heard the Achilles is the worst thing. So in the grand scheme of things, no complaints. I've always said I'm not going to be a guy, like you can de-risk your life to the point where you don't do anything. I'm going to snowboard, I'm going to play soccer, I'm going to do CrossFit, and I'm going to deal with the consequences of my actions.
Yeah, like Achilles, quad tendon, and then probably like ACL.
Yeah.
Probably like the top three. Because lower extremities are always worse than the uppers for sure. But yeah, and again, if you love to do the stuff, I would always say like my wife loves snowboarding. I grew up in Minnesota. I'm over the snow forever. And I'm not good at it and I don't like it. And for me, like to get hurt snowboarding, I would be so fucking pissed.
Yeah.
But again, I'm an older dude and I can still like dunk a basketball and like it's important to me for whatever, vanity, ego reason. And even when I'm out there, I'm like, if I jump off the ground, is this the last time? Like and I think about it, I go, but the juice is worth the squeeze to me in terms of that. And everybody has their stuff.
Do what you love, man. Do what you love.
So you mentioned the Peter Tia stuff. And a lot of that too is from like my understanding, and they're similar dudes that are all kind of in that same sphere.
Yep.
But a lot of it's like VO2 Max, grip strength, like the basic stuffs for almost like longevity.
Yep.
What kind of builds into like what you guys, so like what at DexaFit, which is the business that you guys basically run, what do you, for people who don't know, like what do you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, DexaFit is a national brand. We own and operate an affiliate of that here in the Scottsdale area. But I think there's about 60, mostly in the United States. There's a couple that are international. I think there's 1 or 2 in Canada, 1 in Asia. But for the most part, it's a U.S. brand. And we're a sports lab. And the core DexaFit offering is 3 tests. A Dexa Scan, which analyzes your body composition. We can talk about what each one of these means. Yeah. A VO2 Max test. And a resting metabolic rate test. We also offer a 3D movement assessment, and we're going to add a strength and power test using a Proteus machine. And we might expand that offering into other things. We're free to expand our business in the sports science realm as we see fit. And I'm really interested in metrics that really are actionable. They give people data that they can use to improve. And we were talking a little bit off camera, and just one example, like if you get a Dexa scan and we tell you your body fat percentage, that's kind of like a moment in time. It's not super actionable. It doesn't tell you what to do. It just shows you where you are today. And some of that stuff is incredibly valuable, and that's why we offer it. But I'm really interested in moving into the really like cutting edge advanced things that help people achieve a specific goal that they want to achieve, whether that's they're a triathlete and they want to hit the podium or get their best time, whether they're looking to lose weight or gain muscle, or they're a bodybuilder, or they're a CrossFit athlete, or a professional athlete. There's certain things that you can work on to emphasize to hit your particular goal. And I think a lot of the data that we provide can help you do that. Everything that we offer is something that like pro sports teams offer in-house, and to the nth degree. And we're essentially making that level of data available to the public. And that's what I like about it.
And so like, who is like the demo? Like, I'm sure you guys do see obviously like triathletes and the CrossFit type community, or even the people in my sphere that kind of live in this, what do you call it? Like some of it performance based, some of it vanity based, some of it a mix, but then like average people too, I assume.
Yeah, we have I would say we have 3 types of customers. The one is the elite athlete. It probably represents about 1% of our clientele, but they are training for something specific. We are helping a local woman here who qualified for the World Championships triathlon in Madrid, Barcelona, somewhere in Spain at the end of November. And so she's in every month testing her VO2 Max because she has specific things that she needs to achieve. So that would be one demo. The next one would be probably younger people. They skew 20 to 50. They're really interested in personal performance. They want to get better. Just day to day, it could be vanity, it could be performance, but it's about being the best version of themselves and seeing what maximum looks like, or at least moving in that direction. And then the third one would be people that tend to skew a little bit older, starting at 40. I think the oldest one we've had is somewhere like 83, 84 years old, and they're interested in longevity. So it's not about how much I can lift. It's not about setting the best time ever in anything. It's I care about my health. I want to live a long, healthy life. Everything I said at the beginning about like holding their grandkids, putting their own luggage up, et cetera, they're interested in health and longevity. And I would say those are the 3 main constituents that come in and see us.
And so I'll go into the tests in a minute, but like in terms of like the staff and like you guys, like what is there some type of training you take the people through to outside of yourself to not just like obviously walk them through the test like correctly, but to like understand the data and give them some information, like whether it be during it or we can talk about the stuff post, because you guys do like have a pretty extensive like, I don't know if you call it like offboarding or like your essentially, but like to go through like, hey, for someone to do a movement screen, like what is that guy? You like walk them through a training, I assume?
Yeah, so everyone on our staff has a degree in either exercise science, kinesiology, or equivalent. And then, through DexaFit, we have training programs to make sure everyone understands the tests, how to apply them properly. That's the one thing is there's equipment, is it calibrated, et cetera, like are you taking care of it? But there is untrained people giving some of these tests can give you really skewed results that are different from where you actually are. So it is important to have talented, knowledgeable, trained people. And then the final finishing part of that is, it's not really a probationary period, but it's like having someone who's been vetted in the room with them as they're going over the results with every single customer, watching them perform every test under supervision to make sure that they meet our standards.
Well, because I imagine just like anything else, like if you have somebody doing, a Dexa scan is like an easier version of like an MRI, like a less claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Like
it's open air.
Yeah, it's great. I go, but you have techs and stuff who go through and like it's the same type of process. But I guess my point is like the human error piece of it, where if you have somebody clipping your body fat, whether it's like Jackson Pollock or if you do 3 sites, whatever you may be, like it's not going to be the same every time. Now it can be close if it's me doing it every time.
Yeah.
And I have the past results, I have current, and then what we could forecast, and you can guess and you get a feel for it. But if I clip somebody and then you clip somebody and then Sean clips somebody, it can be completely off the wall in the same day at the same time.
Yeah, could. We do a lot to prevent that. Training is one. You have to be certified to run a Dexa machine because it's low dose radiation, like it's really low dose. And just before anyone freaks out, it's like the equivalent of eating 4 bananas or taking a cross country flight, but it still is radiation. And so you have to get certified by the state. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we calibrate our machine every morning on Dexa, and for VO2 Max and RMR, we calibrate before every single test. So those are things that I think you should ask your facility, are you doing these things? The error rate, every machine's going to have an error rate.
For sure.
MRI, which probably honestly is even better than a Dexa scanner. If you can find one that will do whole body and do body composition, it will buy you about 0.25% added accuracy at 4 times the time, infinite amount of claustrophobia, and about 8 times the cost.
Oh, dude, I would do a Dexa scan 10 times a day for a month before I would do an MRI.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even close.
Yeah, and that's the way 99% of the population feels. Yeah. And the accuracy rate that you're getting with a Dexa scan, since we're on that topic, is usually between 1% and 3%. We calibrate ours so we know we're one of the like 1%er type things because I see it on my screen.
Yeah.
There's a little fake skeleton kind of thing that you put in, and then it's known. What's in that thing is known, so when it scans it, it knows what it should be reading compared to what it actually reads.
That's cool.
So we know exactly how calibrated our machine is every day, and we take a lot of pride in that. So anyway, so a Dexa machine, 1 to 3%. That means if you have to pick a number, a really low number, very few people have this, but if you had a body fat of 10%, error rate does not mean that means you're actually between 9 and 11. It means you're between 9.9 and 10.1. Like it's that precise.
Yeah, which is, again, I think that's an important piece. If you go somewhere else, what's the machine like?
Yeah.
And then again, the person, if it's 3 different techs that take you through and the trainings were not the same, like that's right, but that's everything in life. So I do think that's an important piece for people to ask.
And the calibration, like there's some companies out there, and the one that I used to use when I was in NorCal, they brought the machine in a van and they brought it to the gym. And at the time, I'm like, this is so convenient. It's awesome. And it's a Dexa scanner. This is amazing. And then now that I own the system and I learn about it and you realize how important calibration is, and GE and Orlogix, the 2 vendors of Dexa scanners, won't even certify their machines for mobile use anymore. Now you're like, okay, now I understand. There's like a lot of moving parts. You want to make sure these things are set up correctly to give people accurate results.
Oh, so the mobile ones are kind of fucked. Or it's harder to calibrate, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it makes maybe like a mobile MRI, I guess.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So you guys work with, obviously, like when people come in, you probably work with different, if it's like the doctors who refer or like different gyms or coaches and things like that. Is that how people sometimes find you guys?
Yeah, so we get a lot of people that listen to podcasts like this. There's a lot of obviously celebrity doctors out there now. Dr. Huberman, Rhonda Patrick, Matt Caberline, Dr. Attia. Those are probably just the highlights, but there's tons of them out there. And because the science is so clear and convincing on some of this data, for the most part, they're all recommending it. So we do get a lot of people from that. Next up would be just fitness people. They either hear it from coaches and trainers. They hear it from fitness influencers. There's a lot of people that will. I think some of the reports lend themselves well to like being Insta famous. Coming in and saying, "I just got my 12% body fat scan at so and so," and then they post that all over Instagram and TikTok, etc. And then doctors, and honestly, not just doctors, but like longevity clinics, chiropractic practices. There's a lot of people in the health space, wellness, even holistic. Professionals. I don't know what the right term for that is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like more of a kind of, I don't want to say alternative medicine, but like your naturopaths and the people who are more open to not just pushing pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I love the idea of using natural stuff, but the idea of alternative medicine either it works or it doesn't. There's no alternative medicine.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, like the things that the mainstream, like, hey, these are okay, these things are not okay. Like when you really look at it, like how, I always say if an alien came down to Earth and it looked at like, you can take these drugs, but not these drugs. You'd be like, what the fuck
Yeah.
are we doing? Well, this is the practice. You see 47 patients a day for 3 minutes. You see 6 patients a day. Oh, this is the most popular model. This is the not covered by insurance model. You'd be like, this is bonkers, dude.
Yeah.
So
Don't even get me started on the American healthcare system, but
it's wild, bro.
It is wild. It's absolutely wild. And hopefully I'm doing my part. And as I mentioned, I'm just repeating a lot of what a lot of other research already says. So it's not my research. I don't claim to have it, but we should be in the preventative phase of life, and, as a society, and not in the reactive, oh, this is what's wrong, take a drug.
Well, it's how people do tissue work and mobility and everything. It's not until it hurts, then they do it. And it's like, no. It's doing the normal maintenance. It's like, don't wait until your car breaks down.
Yeah.
Just take it in, change the oil, move the tires, dude, and it'll run.
And most people get it with cars. Like, that's a great example.
It's a strange thing. I don't know what it is. But you do it with, I don't know, it's how I describe, like, you go to the dentist. Like, you go twice a year, they clean your teeth, they deep clean them, they do all the stuff. I go, but it's not like then you go home and do nothing. Right. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of what people do. It's like, well, let me go get massage or get these tests done and then, like, go home and sit on my ass. I'm like, well, no, all the pieces in the middle matter.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, can I get not ahead of things that'll go wrong, but just like always like on a normal maintenance routine of like, okay, what's my blood work like? Where is everything at? And if it sucks, like, do I want to change it or am I okay with it? I go, more information, it's not a bad thing to have it. And then you choose to do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings me to like the other trackers and the things like that, where if you have your 2 cents on like the Apple Watches, Fitbits, Oura Rings, and those types of things, if you use them yourself, what do you think about them?
Yeah, I'm an Apple Watch guy for sure. I use them and I understand their limitations, I would say is the way.
Like, what do you use yours for you? Like, what do you get from the Apple Watch? It's
the most basic thing in the world, but I love closing my rings because it's kind of like a daily reminder to move. I know it's not the best thing in the world. I know the calorie isn't as accurate as it should be. It can be off. Where I think the latest study I said saw is like 24%. So if it says I burned 800, I probably burned 550, or something like that.
Yeah. But it's not like you're adding in 600 calories of shit because you burned the 500. Like, that game is fucking nonsense.
Absolutely.
So, but it's nice to like we have the Fitbits, the Versas. But really, and I used to track the sleep like all the time. Like, oh my God, like I got a newborn kid at home. I could give a fuck, dude, what the sleep says. I go, but the steps I do. And again, even if they're off by 20%, I could give a shit. It's it's a
proxy.
Yeah. And it gives a reminder too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, but again, obviously I got a dog and a kid and I'm here. So my steps are like 20K a day, give or take.
Yeah.
But it's nice though, when I am heavy on the computer or we're going to sit here today and talk, I'm not going to move for a good amount of time. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, you got to get up off your ass and do something. I do like the prompts for that.
Yeah.
Do you track like sleep at all, any of that stuff, or no?
I pay attention to it. It'll tell you things like, were you in REM, deep sleep, etc. One, I don't know what to do with that information other than I really believe in sleep hygiene. Like, go to bed at the same time every night, get up at the same time every morning, stop looking at screens, an hour ahead of time, don't have caffeine past a certain time. Like, everyone's got to find the system that works for them. I think sleep is incredibly important.
Do you have like a routine, like a setup that you kind of do?
Yeah.
Like, what time you go to bed usually?
9:30, get up at 5:30. And, the latest research I've seen says TVs aren't as bad, even though they emit blue light, but you're farther back. But phones can be really damaging. So I try to not look at my phone past 8:30. I try to have my last meal around 7:30. I'm not a caffeine guy in general, so but if I am going to have it, I try not to drink or have caffeine, and by drink I mean alcohol. Yeah. Past 5:30, past 6. Am I perfect? No. Certainly on the weekends, I'm a guy that's going to have a drink or two with friends and be social. I don't think, I don't know who said it, but everything in moderation, even moderation, so every once in a while, get out.
Do you notice your sleep is any worse on those days or no? Like, in terms of how it tracks?
Absolutely. Especially on days where I go a little bit bigger.
What are you talking, 5 or 6 drinks?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. What are you, beer guy, whiskey guy?
Yeah. What do you? I tend to drink. I'm an ex-bartender. That's how I met my wife. So I drink what everyone else is drinking, and if I'm at a wine function, it's wine. If it's smoking a cigar for the once or twice a year and having a Manhattan, let's do that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm from the Midwest, dude. It's just it's whiskey or beer, bro. There's only two things. That's it. It's pretty simple.
I will say German heritage, so beer is like feeds my soul.
I do think it's, and I hate to say it, beer is probably the best thing for you to drink, at least for me, because of the sheer stomach volume.
Yeah.
I don't eat that much anymore, so it's like if I drink 2 or 3 beers, it's a lot of fluid.
Yeah.
At one time, it slows you down. Like 3 whiskeys
Yep.
is like 10 seconds. Like shit can go sideways in a fucking hurry.
Yeah.
So I do think beer for a guy like me is
the funny thing is, my whole life, I've been a dark beer guy. Like,
Really?
I like the Guinnesses, Bass Ale,
Smithwicks and shit like
oh,
that.
absolutely, Newcastle Brown, and I still love it. Nothing like moving to Arizona to make you love Mexican beer. Like, give me a Pacifico or a Modelo now, like on a 115-degree day. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, it's hard to chew
Yeah.
a Guinness when it's 117. Yeah. I'm out of clear alcohol, Sean, is for rich women on diets. Mark that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep it simple. Well, no, it's good, though. So those days, obviously, you can tell, like, there's a difference in terms of the sleep stuff. But again, yeah, what can you do with the info? And again, it's like, kind of like we used to do, was it the Whoop straps?
Yep.
But I remember, like, we hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim, which is obviously not the easiest thing to do. But the HRV is like, oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
No, dude. I'm like one step from death, dude. And so that's where, and again, I'm not an HRV expert. I don't know enough about it. It's all perceived stress and recovery. I get all that. But I do like the heart rate stuff. I think it's kind of useful. Again, like these ones tend to have a lag. I do think the Polar ones that we worked with them forever tend to be like probably the best just because like, but again, who wants to be strapped up all day? But it is kind of nice to see where it's like, okay, you're redlining, I'm 179. I'm and you're like, okay, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Versus like being in good zone. So yeah, for me, probably the steps, the heart rate stuff, and then like sleep would be a distant third, which I don't track as close anymore. But they're all useful for sure.
Absolutely. And with HRV, I'm distrustful of any single metric. Like, so you take it for a day and it tells you your recovery should be this. I'm sure there's some validity there. But what I really believe on it is if you measure it over a month, a year, and your HRV is high, that means that your heart's in good shape. It's very flexible. It can adjust to itself as needed. And if it's really low, it's very rigid and inflexible. And I think the data supports that. Can it be used to say, hey, this is where you're at in your recovery? Probably. At the population level, it's probably pretty good. For any individual on a specific day, I'm just a little bit more leery of that. And you kind of brought up a great example. If you go rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon, and for anyone listening that's not in Arizona and doesn't know what that is, even a really fit person, I mean, that's
smoked.
Yeah, smoked. Yeah.
Smoked. It's done.
Yeah, especially that last rim. Like, man, what's that? Like 4 or 5 hour march out, all uphill. Some steps, some flat incline, or graded incline. Man, you're consuming water and still don't have to go to the bathroom. Like it's just your body is absorbing every drop of water that it can give you, which is, by the way, nice because that's reducing the amount of weight you have to carry up the mountain.
Just counting every 100 steps at the end. I tell a story all the time. Like I remember Meredith, who came in and did the VO2 Max with you guys. She just did it in May for the first time. Ran the whole bottom. Freak show.
Yeah.
I remember coming up and we did it because the weather was going to change. And so it's like, let's hurry back versus being in the snow and the rain, which is way fucking worse. So I'm like, I'll do it at 2 a.m. in the dark and be hot. That's fine. But I remember coming up, I'm like, oh, we got to be almost done. Cause you can track your watch. You can kind of know. And then I remember this guy's in the sleeping bag, like on the side of the trail and we're walking by him. And he's like, I'm just going to take a nap here quick. And I'm like, all right, bro, see ya. And then I got maybe 100 yards past him. And I'm like, if we're close to the top, like, why is this fucking dude sleeping right here? And then you see like a headlamp, like fucking forever away. And I'm like, oh, dude, no, I got like 2 hours left.
Yeah.
And that's like mentally just like a soul crushing.
It's a mind fuck.
Yeah. And again, to your point, like, no, I was not good. Smoked, like complete. Cause again, to eat, we could talk about this all day. To eat that much, I don't eat that much in a day.
Yeah.
But you're burning at such a huge clip. Like, I'm a heavier dude. So to walk, especially the incline stuff, you just die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that was a bitch. And I did that raw dog, no headphones, no nothing. I'm like, fuck it, dude. And it's black.
Yeah.
And like that's we were with a group of 4, my wife and 2 friends who come here super fit. We just kind of all separated. No one's talking to each other, and you're just like on your own journey. Like, fuck it, dude.
Did you hit the ice cream shop that's right at the top, or?
So I got done at like 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
It's like nothing was open. But I did. So we drove. So we got in the car. I did my Reebok Nanos. I had a contract with Reebok for like 7 years. That's all I fucking wore. And the only one who didn't have toenails fall off because I did it. The shoes I always wear. And I remember we drove home, and I was so hungry. My semitendons in the back of my leg, like the muscle right behind your knee, like your popliteus, like that popliteal nerve, just fucked. I could barely straighten my leg, and it hurt so bad. I mean, it was fucked about halfway on the way back. But like, I walked my dumb ass down here. I got to walk out. And I remember getting out of the car because to drive back is a couple hours, so stiff. And like, there's no food at our house.
Yeah.
And to Heather, I'm like, I don't want to walk around Safeway right now. And so like I went to the McDonald's drive-thru and got like sausage, egg, McMuffins. I'm like, this is the greatest fucking thing I ever ate.
Yeah.
To this day in my mind, they're like the greatest food I ever had because I was just like starving. But yeah, that was a bitch for sure.
You definitely, you start considering your options like, do I just get in the Colorado River and swim down to Mexico so I don't have to climb out of this thing?
Yeah, dude. Like, it's tough, man. But I will say, like, if you're going to do it for people, it's better if it be a little bit cold.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, like, again, it was snowing for us in the north when we got up there. But on the bottom, tank top shorts, sweating my ass off. That heat will kill you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. So, also, I was going to ask you, Oura Ring, have you ever tried that?
Yeah.
Is that the best one for sleep or no?
One of the great things about the Oura Ring is just its battery life. And so you can wear it for 7-8 days or whatever. And with Apple Watches, a lot of people are like, oh man, I'm down to 20%. I'll just charge it when I sleep. And then when they go and they look at their sleep data, they're like, I have it for 5 days, but not 2 days. And you know, it starts, and it feels incomplete. And you're like, what can I really learn from it? From a technology perspective, I don't think there's anything in the Oura Ring that any of the smartwatches don't have. So I don't think they're doing anything special.
Okay.
So I think it's the constant availability of it due to the battery life that is what is kind of what's magical about it.
Yeah, I'd never worn one. I know people do, but I'm like, how much better could it really be? And then, is it like subscription based too?
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck? Dude?
They have ones that are not. So you can get the off-brand one, but if you want Oura, it's like $300 and then $10 a month or whatever. The one I'm actually most looking forward to, and I haven't read up on the science yet to see if it supports it, is 8 Sleep. They have a new advanced one.
Oh yeah.
So 8 Sleep is basically runs small tubes of water through like a mattress cover to control temperature, which is supposed to really help you sleep better. So I'm interested just on that. By the way, no affiliation with 8 Sleep, not a sponsor, etc. Like
they're expensive as fuck, aren't they?
Yeah, like $4,000 or something, and also a subscription on top of that. So you really got to be into this, but I think that what I read is the new version is also starting to measure some of your vital signs when you're sleeping. And unlike Oura Ring, unlike Apple Watches or smartwatches, et cetera, I think they have microphones that are listening for respiration. So like, were you snoring? Did your breathing slow down, et cetera? So there's additional data that some of these other devices don't have. And you don't have to worry about charging it. It's plugged in. It gets your whole body instead of just like one single segment of your body. So I think if there's anything to be learned from sleep, whether it's 8 Sleep or something similar to them, I think they just, due to access, having a complete access to your full body, or at least, one side of your body for 8 hours, I think there's some potential there. So I'm interested in seeing what comes of that. But as far as sleep research and the data that comes out of it and how to apply it to your life to make things better, I feel like we're really at our infancy. There's some interesting things there. I can't even imagine in 10 years where we'll be at. Whereas correspondingly, when we tell you how much lean mass you have, when we tell you what your VO2 max is, when we tell you what your RMR is, we know what to do with that information right now.
Well, yeah, and the sleep stuff too, because a lot of it too, like that I've dug into, because I've had bouts where I couldn't sleep, and then I've had perfect sleep, and then obviously having a little kid, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the hours before midnight, way more crucial than the hours like post midnight, which I always thought was strange too.
Yeah.
Because again, and then when I would track religiously and I look at it, a lot of my deep sleep would come like almost initially. So it's like you get in that like kind of like short term and then boom, falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
And I would get a majority of it way before 12. And then in between there, it's like kind of like that lighter sleep and then the REM sleep and then maybe some deep, but it would usually be like a huge chunk before midnight.
Yeah.
Which I do think that is helpful for people too. But again, how much of your life are you willing to adjust to do it?
Yeah.
And again, I would say if there's any like natural, like what's a natural steroid you could do, like if you could get awesome sleep. Because like I would say, and again, what's more important, like if you had to skip a workout or two or a couple days of sleeping. Because if you don't work out, like you're going to be fine. But if you don't sleep for 2 days, you're a bag of shit.
You're fucked.
Yeah. It's like you're dead man walking.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about all the stuff like, did I get enough REM, total duration, temperature, all those things factor in sleep. But you could do everything right and you're stressed and your cortisol levels are high. And there goes that night of sleep, if you sleep at all,
Yeah, and it's an easy thing to say. Like, obviously, when you have shit in your life, it is what it is. But if you can eliminate, that's why I say, if you can control the ecosystem and the environment.
Yeah.
Like, so obviously, the only way I've been successful for this long is I can control pretty much fucking everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's the game where I'm like, I work for myself. I don't got to do this. Like, that does help alleviate that, to not wake up at 2 a.m., have a panic attack about some fucking PowerPoint or whatever's going on, like that type of shit. Like, which is a real thing for people. And then consistently do that, over and over and over. And if you're, eating, from me, and it was fine forever, like probably obviously 20s and 30s. And then as you start to get older, it's like, eating not my normal shit or eating a ton of fucking food before bed, the booze for sure.
Yeah.
Even like smoking weed, all of those things like affect it drastically. Where like when you're 25, you're pretty much bulletproof and it doesn't matter. But then eventually it gets worse and worse and worse.
And I'd say the final piece on top of that is, can you accept what you cannot control? Because if you did everything, like you said, controlled the environment, and and by the way, stress isn't always a negative thing, or high cortisol levels. Like, I don't know, you have a big competition the next day and you're excited for it. That can help make it harder for you to fall asleep, right? And that's a positive thing in your life. So you just have to be willing to, there's a mental component of this, of saying, I've done everything I can, I feel good about it, and I'm going to relax and I'm going to fall into deep sleep.
And I guess that's the thing with a lot of the tracking, and I'll go into all the tests that you guys do, but it's the numbers where there's a lot of people here, I think, like we'll send them over, and the people probably already trickle over as we kind of loosely mention it, but then when this will come out, they'll roll over.
Yeah.
But then there's people here, I like cringe that they'll come over because it's like the numbers.
Yeah.
It's so fixated. It's the scale to
Yeah.
me, where it's like you've been eating great, you're moving around, you feel good about yourself, you're having a great day. You get on the scale, it says 152 versus 145, and your expectation was 145, and now you're like, well, now I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm a loser. It's my same take with like competing on stage. I'm not against bodybuilding and competing. When I'm a younger kid, like it's part of my life. I go, but you look the same way, whether you were first or 10th.
Yeah.
But now your framework in your brain is like, well, I'm 10th. I suck now.
Yeah.
Versus some arbitrary judges told you this. And that's like what I look at some of these numbers where people go and say, oh, I thought my body fat would be this. I thought my visceral fat would be this. I thought my VO2 max would be this. And like, when you say the numbers, like, what's even good, what's bad? Like, to a norm, it's like saying you bench 300 pounds. Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people live and die by that. Like, that's the hard piece.
Absolutely. And it's a minority of the people that come in to see us, but those are the worst consultations, when someone comes in happy about their body, gets data, and then feels unhappy, when you're exactly right. They shouldn't feel that way. It should be, you were happy before. Now you have data that shows you where you're at empirically that made you happy. And now if there's things you want to tweak or adjust, then you can. And you can track those changes over time. And it's honestly, we don't get people that feel that way about RMR. We don't get people that feel that way about 3D movement assessment. We don't get people that feel that way about VO2 Max.
Nope.
It is 100% DexaFit or Dexa Scan and body composition scanning.
And it's probably only for most people like just a body fat percentage number. It may be the lean mass too, or if it's but again, when you look at this, like it's a scale, right? Like it's all movable. And to be honest, like I do this for a living. A lot of it, I don't track religiously. Like,
Yeah.
if you would have told me before, again, I've probably done a Dexa scan, I don't know, 4 times in my life. Maybe the bod pod, similar.
Yeah.
I've done pretty much everything. And it's not like I sit and remember, like, okay, if you have, for this age bracket, 2 pounds of visceral fat is like the average. Well, mine was like 0.3 or some shit.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Like, if you would have told me it was 1 or 0.6 or 0.1, like, that's all fine for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have an expectation, and I'm not going to remember that number 2 months from now.
Yeah.
You know, but we get married to this of what you think something is. It's the weight number.
Yeah.
I think it's this. So, like, if my body fat is single digits, yeah, super cool. I go, but I die
Yeah.
to live there. I go, and we'll talk about it on certain podcasts, like, hey, this is the reality. I actually did one the other day. We talked about your place on there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you would hate my fucking life. You would hate to eat like this and train like this and live like this. I go,
Yeah.
and the numbers are relevant.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. Like, if I walk around and I weigh 212 pounds or 202 pounds or 236 or 190, nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the hard part for the people who are so into it. We get married to these metrics.
And the worst part about it is, and I say this as a guy that sells these tests, I completely agree with you. They're not necessary. You can live a long, healthy life. What we think we do is give you data. If you're trying to make changes, make improvements, make sure that something hasn't drastically changed since you did it in a year. Like, we give you the empirical state of where you are. But the other thing is the absolute misconception of what 10% body fat looks like, 15% body fat looks like.
Person to person.
Correct.
It's drastically different.
Yeah. And there are people out there with like 15, 16% body fat, men, I'll use men as an example for this one, that have visible abs.
Yes.
And if you would tell the average gym bro, what do you need to see abs? They'd be like 10%, 9%. It's like, no. Like, and so people are off by substantial amounts in their mental model.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you're a dude, again, like, so on average, if we talk body fat stuff, just because it's people get interested in that shit, women are, on average, correct me if I'm wrong, about 10% higher.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
So, like, if a dude is 12%, a woman's about 22. That's kind of the...
I would say that doesn't apply when you start getting to, like, professional bodybuilders.
For sure.
But for the general population,
yeah. And so if you take a guy like buddies of mine that played every sport in college, like typically the same 30 dudes I grew up with, the Savages.
Yeah.
Might be 250, but, like, fucking jacked. So 250 at, like, 14%, you look pretty fucking good. Now, 14% on a guy that weighs 130 pounds doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong. It's just they're two different molds. Like, the more lean tissue you have, like Brock Lesnar at whatever the fuck he's at, looks fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a huge, those are two different things.
Absolutely.
And, like, genetically, like, where you hold your fat too.
Yeah.
Like, you're luckier if you're a dude and you can hold some fat in your legs, because even when you get lean, they're going to look a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Like, there's those things. Some people don't store it mostly in their abdominals, which is fucking great for them.
Yeah.
Most people do, though. So all of those things factor in. And so I think you get married to, that's the end all be all, and it's not. So for your guys' stuff, I do think it's great. We can talk like the Dexa Scan stuff, specifically like that test, but it's more importantly like what is. I do think it's important for anybody to do it at least once, and I'll talk about the other tests and I guess like how it kind of differs a little bit, but not so much like what your overall body fat percentage is, as long as it's in a healthy range, because I don't really think it fucking matters. It's more of like a flex than anything. But I'll be honest with you, like I think the lowest we've ever been on there is probably like 6%. Now that's where there's veins in my ass.
Yeah.
My face is completely gone. I want to fucking jump off a building. My wife fucking hates me. That's where I'm living. And you're gonna go do it for basically just like a men's health program to start out, because we're selling something.
Yeah.
We get paid off of fucking clicks. That's why you do.
Or
that.
you're in a competition. You go on stage and you live there for 7 days or 4 days or
and
something.
that's it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
But other than that, like an average person that walks around and sees you can't tell the fucking difference.
Yeah.
And there is a point we call it like when your fitness steals your fitness. It's like diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So you're pushing the line because your body has it wants to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Then you can fuck with that for a long period of time. So if like, endomorph, mesomorph, like you can change things a little bit, but you are how you are.
Yeah.
Like, and I always use Brock Lesnar as the example. Like, he's never going to be me. and I'm never gonna fucking be. His head is as big as my waist.
Yeah.
I have the ankles of a 7-year-old girl. It's just like that's I'm never gonna change that. So
Yeah.
I do think the number, but more importantly, where is the fat on the body?
Yep.
Like where do you hold it for one, and then how much visceral fat is in the body? I think that's more important.
Yep.
How much lean muscle mass do you have? Because that's a huge indicator of so many things.
Yep.
And then the bone density piece.
Yep.
So I guess to walk people through, like when you say like a DEXA scan, like if they're an infant who doesn't understand any of it, like they come in, what does it look like, and kind of what is the picture of it?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit all the high points. So you come in, you're going to lay down on a table that has an arm over it. The arm's going to start by your head. Depending on your size, the scan's going to take anywhere from 6 to 15 minutes, let's call it. You have to stay still for that time. You can't talk until the arm passes your head, the scanner passes your head. And so the hardest part, I mean, it's kind of open air as we talked about at the very beginning. So
it's the least. I know people are listening like think of like an MRI if it wasn't closed.
Yeah.
You lay in a bed and it's like I don't know, like a fucking, what was that when we were kids? Scantrons?
Yeah.
Like you go into the class, like you put the fucking, what was that thing you put on a Scantron? The translucent little sheet. Yeah, I'm old as fuck, dude. Yeah. But it would scan over the top of you. Yeah. It's the least invasive thing you can probably do for body fat, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the other choices are MRI, you're in a tube, bod pod, where you have to submerge yourself in water, exhale all your air and hold it there for like 15 seconds, all in a closed container. So
what does it embody? You just stand and do bioelectrical impedance? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The one difference with them versus a smart scale is you hold on to it because the scales shoot electricity up one leg and it comes out the other, and it misses basically your whole upper body. What InBody tries to do is do the same thing but with your arms, but it still misses a lot of your torso.
Yeah. So it's super chill.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I mean, I guess technically if you want the easiest thing, because that's done in 20 seconds or 40 seconds or whatever. But if you want detailed, accurate, like research grade data on your body, the Dexa scan is going to be the least invasive or the most open, depending on how you want to look at it. So it's going to scan you, take 6 to 15 minutes, and then we're going to have a report. We're going to go over it with you in detail, and you hit on the highlights. We're going to tell you what your body fat percentage is, what your total fat volume is in pounds. You have 40 pounds of fat, you have 100 pounds of fat, et cetera. We're going to tell you that by body region. So how much of that is on your torso, how much is on your arms, how much is on your legs. We're going to tell you how much is on each side. Are you carrying more fat on your left arm versus your right arm, your left leg versus your right leg?
How common is that?
Really common.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about because we think of ourselves as like symmetrical.
We are not symmetrical.
Not
we are not symmetrical beings. And I would say the more fit you are, the more symmetrical you are. If your training doesn't, especially on fat, we don't control where our body stores our fat. You alluded to that before.
No.
And so if your body for some reason wants to store 0.1 pounds more of fat on your left arm than your right arm, I can't tell you to do 100 curls to get rid of it, No,
and people do think that like, hey, if I let the spot reduction bullshit and different things, it's weird because just the psychology of it in general, like if you think about like how dumb it is, like the just movement patterns in general, if you understand like biomechanics, like you're doing curls, right? Like to create stress on the tissue to build it up and make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yet you're going to go into the same building and do crunches to somehow make it smaller. Like it's fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
But that's the framework behind it, which is kind of crazy. And no, you don't control it. Like so, even for me, like if most of my fat was, let's say, like your inner thigh, and then like maybe like where your love handle would be, and those types of things. Like that's where a bulk of it just for whatever reason. It's like it's not that I don't do all the things every day. It's just that's what. Yeah. Your mom and
you
dad.
have to have fat on your body.
Yeah.
Like if people come in, I'm like, the goal is not 0 pounds of fat. That you're dead. If you get down to 3% body fat, you're in the hospital. Like this is
and that too. The how again when your fitness steals your fitness, the hormonal shifts and the drops that happen when you're chasing a number that you're not naturally supposed to be at. But again, and you can have the people where it's like your skinny fat essentially is the term we'd use.
Yep.
Where the body fat is higher, you look a certain way, but maybe the visceral fat because of diet habits, genetics, whatever, is drastically higher.
And by the way, skinny fat usually is not only because you have a little bit of fat, like, well, where are you hiding it? You're hiding it because of the complete and total lack of lean muscle, lean tissue.
That's it.
Right. And so, yeah.
So the visceral fat piece, like for these guys, like get that number.
Yeah. So we have 2 types of fat on our body. We have subcutaneous fat. It's a fat that is visible. It's between the skin and the muscle. It's the fat that we can all see.
You can feel it.
And you can feel it, yeah. It's like when you do skin caliper testing, that's the fat that it's basically measuring. And then we have visceral fat. And visceral fat's the fat that's in between our organs. It's around our liver, our stomach, our intestines, etc. And we call it the insidious fat. It's the one that actually causes health problems. It can contribute to hormone imbalances. It contributes to inflammation, and worst case scenario, it contributes to type 2 diabetes. And so we have people that come in that have an incredibly large amount of fat volume and sometimes a relatively little amount of visceral fat. And it doesn't mean that they shouldn't lose weight for health reasons, but for whatever reason, their body has chosen to store proportionally less around their organs, and they're just lucky. But it's important to know. And conversely, you can have a lot of muscle, you can have relatively low body fat percentage overall, and have a high visceral fat number. Now, there's nothing you can do about it in the sense that you can't target it, just like you can't target, we talked about like spot reduction. It's general like fat loss and health that's going to get rid of it. You can absolutely get rid of visceral fat. I hope I didn't misspeak there. You just can't target visceral fat. And it's good to know that stuff because and our threshold for health on that is relatively low. We want to see everyone with 1 pound of visceral fat or lower. And that, I mean, 1 pound, like that's not that much. And ideally, like our ideal metric is 0.5 pounds or lower. And you can be someone with 18% body fat and have 0 visceral fat. That is absolutely within the realm of possibility. But you don't know until you test, that's kind of our thought.
And like, is there like an average, again, like when you guys have like average numbers, are they average people who have come in? Are they average like Americans? Like, because I always say like, people here will ask, like, what's a good average number for XYZ? I go, well, I don't work with normal people. So a normal person is fucked.
Yeah.
And what I mean is you guys are here training. So that's a different thing completely. Because I assume the average is...
And even the people that come into DexaFit tend to be more fit than the population at large because they care about their health and longevity, and they're trying to make changes to help achieve that. When it comes to visceral fat, that's specifically why we do not talk about averages. We say the target is 1 pound or less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what role, like, in terms of, just because, like, if it's, like, the GLP-1 shit, so for people listening, Ozempic and that type of stuff, like, what role do you guys play in that? Like, do you have doctors who will actually, like, send people to you now? Like,
absolutely.
How does that look like? Like, pre, intra, post, or, like, what is the protocol?
Yeah, pre-intra, post. That's exactly it. It depends on the doctor. Obviously, we have lots of doctors that recommend different things, but I would say that's the standard protocol. And the main reason you want to do that, and you could argue the pre is the most important test, because we haven't got into the rest of the Dexa scan and what it gets you, but one of the things is lean muscle. And if you're on GLP-1, I really hope you're doing it because you're really overweight and not because you're at 20% body fat and because it's vanity. But anyway, so let's take the case where...
Side note, it's a huge number. It's Scottsdale.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be an asshole. There's a lot of people who are like, well, I have 10 pounds to lose. And I'm like, dude.
Then work for it.
That's not... Yeah. I'm not against... Again, I always say, like, I don't judge anybody other than cyclists on the road. That's my only group for a bunch of reasons. But I don't judge anyone for what you do. But if you're 400 pounds, yeah, it's probably a route maybe you go to kickstart you, and if that's going to help with some behavior modification and move you, because I think the 400 pounds will fucking kill you before like the GLP-1s do.
Absolutely.
And then the juice is worth the squeeze. But if you're someone who you have 10 pounds to lose, you're a 140-pound female, I don't think losing 5 pounds of muscle is worth it for you to lose 10 pounds of mass. And that's drastic.
And that's why I say the pre is the most important test, is you want to know where you're starting from, not just from fat, but from muscle. And we want to see, what are you losing? What is the body mass that you are losing? You can absolutely, there could be someone, 400 would be, that's a really extreme example. But let's say there's a 5'6", 250-pound woman, right? that person, for health reasons, should lower their body fat percentage, their overall body.
The weight just needs to go.
Right. There is a way for them to lose weight where I would argue that they did it in a way that they're now less healthy than they were before. So if you were 250 and let's say 120 pounds of that is muscle and let's say your skeleton's 25 and then 105 pounds is fat. If you lost 50 pounds of fat and 50 pounds of muscle, I would say you are actually worse off than you are before. You may be better off metabolically. Like, I'm not going to argue with that.
Easier on the joints, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're like dangerously under-muscled at that point.
And the reason I agree with that is for the fact of, even in the moment, if you're like, yeah, I'm winning for the moment, how hard is it to build that tissue, dude? Because I can tell you this. To get leaner, yeah, it sucks, but it's not the hardest thing in the world. To be miserable, suffer in silence, like just have a mental fortitude to like be kind of hungry and annoyed all the time. To put on fucking muscle mass, bro.
Yeah.
Like for me at almost 42 years old, to put on, first of all, I can't put on 50 pounds of muscle. It's not a fucking thing. I mean, with a shit ton of steroids, maybe, but I don't even think my frame could handle it. Like to put on 10 pounds of muscle as a dude is fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
As a female, it is like 10x.
Yeah.
Hard to do. So when you lose it, especially if you're past a certain age, and we're probably talking people that are 35 and up, it is really tough. And that's why I guess the point is to go in, if you're on the GLP-1s, get a Dexa scan, see when you're losing what the percentage of fat is versus what the percentage of muscle is.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if there's like a sweet spot doctors talk them through or you guys talk them through of what it is. Obviously, it'd be the least amount of muscle possible. Something's going to happen. It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
But keep as much as you can, the protein intake, strength training, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And don't have it be 50-50.
Yeah. No, it should be, I mean, anything below 80-20, I would start to be like, ugh, like we're venturing into, like you said, it's so hard. I told you I tore my rotator cuff, and this is on me. This is 100% my doing. Yes, I was limited. I couldn't do all the upper body stuff. But I stopped training. I used it as an excuse. I lost 10 pounds of muscle as a 54-year-old man. I have a mountain to climb to get back to where I was. And I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
But
you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And you're a dude who's trained for a million years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have all these other things that go in your favor. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't like exercise,
Yeah.
and then you lose it, and you don't really like to eat, like I said, all I do is eat meat all day anyway. So all the things work in my favor.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's hard.
Yeah.
So if you're doing, I'm like, fuck, dude.
And by the way, this is anecdotal, but I went in for my final appointment with my orthopedist to get cleared for everything. Take your shirt off. He wants to look at everything. He's like, yeah, your left delta is smaller than your right. We have some droop in your lats. And I just feel like a small tear comes to your eye because you know how much work it is to get that back.
Yeah. The nice part about it, like, obviously, as you get older, it's the margin for error becomes less and less and less.
Yeah.
You just can't really miss days. You can't really fuck around. But because you've done it, there's the base there.
Yeah.
Like, age range training is real. It's what I always say. Like, if I didn't shoot a basketball for 10 fucking years, I'd still go out and like, that's the one thing you can probably always keep.
Yeah.
Or if you played golf, or if you played piano, like if you did, or friends of ours who are not nearly the athletes they used to be, at a wedding, 7 beers in, full fucking backflip, and like, because they did gymnastics for 20 years. I go, so when you do have something to always kind of pull from. If you don't let it go for too long, that's like to your benefit. Even and friends of mine who are fit, but yeah, the longer you go, yeah, definitely it just sucks, dude.
Yeah,
it's because you're trying to, I don't, what's the frame, like, not hold on, but you're trying to just keep morphing into whatever version you can be.
Absolutely, best version of yourself. That's what you want.
It's like, yeah, you're not going to be 1987 Jordan, but if you can be Jordan from the Wizards.
Yeah.
It's still pretty sick.
Still
yeah, that's the tick.
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of like those guys, or even anybody in general, anybody comes in for you guys, does Dexa scan. And I guess I'll talk about it real quick. Bone density.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's a huge piece, women specifically, but even dudes, like how much that does matter for people.
Yeah. And it's the most surprising result people get. When they come in here and they do body fat, they have an idea in their head. And if they were hoping for 15 and they get 18, or they get 20, they're like, okay, like it's in the realm of whatever. to tell someone like on a T-score scale, and I can explain that if we need to, but like a 30-year-old man is at like a minus 0.8, only 0.2 away from osteopenia, which is where we start talking about brittle bones and high risk of fracture. They had no idea. Like, it's out of left field, complete surprise. And I wouldn't say that's common, but it's certainly not unheard of. And I mean, I had one guy in the last week that had that, and I've had a few in the past few months. So, and unfortunately, it's more common in women than it is in men.
For sure.
And being aware of that is critical, and you can do something about it. So we have two types of bone in our body, and I can't remember the Latin names for it, but 20 to 30% of our bones get remodeled every 2 to 3 years. That's a lot harder to change. But that means 70 to 80% of our bones get remodeled every 2 to 3 weeks. If you have the right nutrients, vitamin D, making sure it gets absorbed, so you're taking like vitamin K with it, calcium. And I'm not saying go out and megadose. No one needs to go out there and megadose anything. But you're just getting what you need. And you do heavy resistance training, not like bodybuilding style where like your sets have 20, 30 reps, but you're within one rep of failure at 6 to 8, maybe 10 reps. And you're doing that, maybe not every one of your workouts, but some of your workouts. You can absolutely build bone density. And you absolutely should.
Oh yeah, we've seen people here where they come in, typically females. It's trash. Their doctors tell them it's trash. They come here for a year or maybe even 6 months. They go back in and test it. And it's like they're a different person. And again, it's not rocket science.
Yeah,
we have them they ruck with load. They push a heavier sled. They pull it. They do farmer's carries and the normal compound lifts. They squat. They lunge. They press vertical, horizontal. That's it.
Yep.
And then obviously they eat a certain way.
And the unfortunate thing, it's unfortunate that they don't know about it. It's great that they come here and they do the work and they improve it. It's unfortunate that you can't feel it. Like if you have a T-score of 0 versus a T-score of 3, and by the way, these are standard deviations. So we're talking about a 0 puts you at the 50th percentile. A 3, I can't remember what yours are. I think it was like 2.8, 2.9 or something.
Yeah, something. I have it somewhere.
Yeah. That puts you in the 99th percentile. You're, I always tell people like that with your type of bone score, like, does it mean if you can't break a bone if you're in a car accident? No, but it means like if you're in the car with somebody else, I'm betting on your bones versus them in the same accident, right?
Yeah.
But you can't feel a difference. If you had a 0, you cannot feel it. And it's the only way you know about it is through testing. And I would say anyone that lifts weights consistently, it's not like they need to work. Someone that's in the gym 3 to 5 days a week, lifts heavy weights, unless they have some sort of crazy nutritional deficit, they're not going to have a problem. It's the people that used to lift weights, haven't lifted weights in 10 years, and they feel like, yeah, I'm still probably good. I still feel good. That type of thing can like creep up on them and surprise them.
No, I think if you jack steel, 3.4.
Yeah, so you're a
T-score.
So now we're in the last
fucking Superman.
Yeah, we're in the last. We normally don't tell people over 99%, but at that point, you literally are like we're talking like the last 10th or last 100th of the decimal point there.
Like a headbutt, you kill you, Sean. This crazy thing is it's crazy because I had
absolutely.
I think of that like Mark Kerr, who The Rock is filming a movie about right now. Like his nickname, he's a UFC champion, Smashing Machine. I had him on the podcast. Like, and he's like 50 now. Like I look at his head, I'm like, he would kill me. Yeah. Like his density's got to be like 1,000. Like I feel like he headbutted me, I would die. Like even with my strong bones. But the point is like, yeah, you need to have like I guess when you would talk about like longevity, like for us, humans in general, obviously like VO2 Max, which we'll get into, but these numbers, and that's why I say like the lean muscle tissue you have on you and how dense your bones are, because over time you're going to get smaller. Yeah. Even with like...
You're going to have less muscle on your body at 80 than you did at 30 no matter what you do.
Yeah. And again, like I'm not against like at that point, first of all, give me all the fucking drugs. Like give me the Barry Bonds shit at that point. Because I'm like, I'm going to be frail anyway. So let me keep as much tissue. But I'm not going to be, 26-year-old me at 80, no matter what.
No matter what.
Drugs. So there's that. And so I want to have as much as I can now for as long as I can and keep the bones dense, because when you look at, not to get depressing, we've talked about this on here at nauseum with a bunch of other people, but like nursing home stats, like 3/4 of those people are there because they can't essentially use the toilet unassisted.
Yeah.
And what that means is either they can't do a bodyweight squat or they don't have the grip strength to hold themselves up. And when you look at how drastically people go downhill from like walking to a cane to a walker to a wheelchair to bedridden, that's a fast regression, and usually they skip steps. So don't go from like walking and then slowly to it's like walking to a fucking wheelchair. And then it's like they're off a cliff. And a lot of that is they don't have the grip strength, they don't have the muscle mass, and obviously they don't have the mobility to get up off the ground unassisted either. And those are like really, and I know nobody thinks that, but I remember like I was at the Mayo Clinic like maybe 3 months ago and just seeing this old dude like at the counter, and he's checking in. They're like, oh, he's like, I have to use the bathroom. I'm like, oh, do you need help? And he's like, probably. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's probably me someday. Maybe not. I go, but that's the end game no matter what. Like, I'm going to be old as fuck one day, and, like, I'm going to just drop dead. Hopefully I can still take a piss by myself. I go, but I'm like, we're all going to be there.
And by the way, you've talked all the way to frailty where to the point where you need help. The scary thing is when you fall. If you don't have strong bones and you fall, the most dangerous thing that can happen to you is breaking a hip. This is an insane statistic. I can't even believe it's true, and I've double-checked it like 100 times. If you are over the age of 50 and you break a hip, 50% of those people are dead within a year. Could you imagine? 50.
That's crazy.
Not 80.
That's wild.
And the single thing we can do to prevent falls best is leg strength. And we haven't really, one of the things we didn't talk about on the Dexa scan was, do you have enough muscle? It's one thing for us to say you have 100 pounds of lean mass or whatever, but one of the most important things that we tell you at DexaFit, I don't know if all Dexa scans give you this number, but it can be calculated with the raw numbers that any Dexa scan spits out. But there's two metrics, appendicular lean mass index and fat-free mass index. And what that looks like, or what looks at is, do you have enough muscle on your body to live a long, healthy life? So as you already said, we're going to lose muscle as we age. But if you start at a high number and you end up at a lower number, but that's still above the disability or the frailty line, you're still doing stuff. And if you're way over the line, I mean, there's 90-year-olds that play golf. You said your neighbor, 100.
He still dances at the Elks Lodge every week. He's a savage.
I would honestly say, like, he's probably saying he's doing that for fun. I would say that's keeping him alive. One, it's the social aspect, which we know is crucial, but he's exercising his legs. And so what appendicular lean mass index does is it adds up the muscle mass in your arms and legs. And by the way, your legs are about 2 to 3 times bigger than your arms in terms of total volume of muscle. So it's really a measure of leg strength. And it says, do you have enough muscle relative to your legs? And that is an incredibly important statistic. And so people will come in, like I said, oh, I'm at 12% body fat, the skinny fat people, but you look at them and you're like, man, like
there's no tissue there.
There's no tissue there. And they'll be like, oh, I'm healthy. And then they'll get that ALMI score and it'll say they're only at like 6 kilograms of muscle mass per meter squared. And we're like, you're the person that's going to need help going to the bathroom. And maybe not when you're 80, maybe when you're 65, like you're dangerously low on your muscle mass. And I would argue that, the visceral fat, body fat overall is overrated because people don't differentiate between the two types of fat. And visceral fat is really, really important. But having enough lean muscle mass, working out consistently to make sure that you have good bones, it's at least as important. It's at least as important. And so, and I think that's one of the things that surprises people when they come into DexaFit and they get their scan is they came in to get their body fat percentage because they heard this is how they can get it. And then every consultation that we provide after each assessment ends up being like a mini sports science lesson. I can't tell you how many, even really good athletes that train a lot don't understand all the science behind it. And they'll say, I'm low body fat. And I would say the more common one is they're low body fat and their ALMI is average. But they think like, no, I'm a gym guy. I'm lean. I feel good. And I'm like, but you don't have enough muscle. Like you have enough muscle for today, but not for tomorrow, or, but tomorrow being 20 years away. it's really important to have a lot of muscle. And we haven't even gotten into the metabolic role that muscles play. Our muscles act as sinks.
It's your metabolism.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's everything. And so, by the way, that brings me back to me losing 10 pounds of muscle and how sad I am about that. But
it just makes everything harder at rest.
Yeah.
It makes it's the rich get richer.
Yeah.
It's the more, it's great to be shredded for sure. Like I'll die shredded. T-shirt. I go, but it's like the more jacked you are, it just, first of all, in general, you're gonna have the same problems in life no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's just better to have them and look like Rambo than not. That's just my 2 cents.
Yep.
I'm like, but to have as much tissue as humanly possible at rest, everything is better for you.
Yeah.
In terms of just like fat oxidation, again, if you're eating right, protein synthesis, everything, it's just, it works better. When you work out, you do burn more calories.
Yep.
Like everything is just,
your RMR is higher because your muscles need more calories to exist.
it's like being a billionaire. It's
yeah.
just the money makes money.
Yeah.
It's really like, that's the biggest flex, I think.
And just to make it absolutely clear for listeners, you could have, like, let's take an average guy. You could have a guy with 25% body fat and I don't know what his number would be, it depends on his height, but let's just call it a lot of muscle, right? But he's just also got a decent amount of fat on him.
Yeah.
And then you could have someone with, call it 18% body fat and no muscle. 100 times out of 100, I'd rather be the dude with 25% body fat in that situation.
Yeah. Well, it's the be harder to kill.
Yeah.
You're just like, you just want to be a savage.
Yeah.
So like this test in general, what do you guys, like what's the kind of the normal protocol to follow? Like you come in, you get tested, here's the numbers, and then if people want to, depending on what thing it is, kind of like when you go get blood work done. Hey, I'm going to go do my blood work. We're going to test everything, all your hormones. We're going to test your cholesterol, your EGFR, all the things.
Yep.
And then do you come back in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months? Like what is the kind of, what do you tell them?
We have 3 recommendations. The first one is you're an elite athlete and you're an Olympian in the Olympics or this summer. Come in every month for some of the metrics if you want. The woman I told you who qualified for the World Championship in triathlon, she comes every month to test her VO2 Max, and we'll go over what VO2 Max is in a little bit. And that makes sense because she wants to do as well as possible, and the difference, like a 1% improvement could mean everything, right? It's the elite of the elite. So that's less than 1% of our clientele, but just to be clear, start with that. The complete other end of the spectrum is I'm not training for anything. I don't really have any health goals, but I care about my health and longevity, and I don't want something to fall off a cliff while I'm not paying attention. Come in once a year and at least get a Dexa scan, if not the other things. That would be the recommendation. And then for everybody else who's like working out and wants to understand where they're at, our recommendation is 2 to 4 times a year. So every 3 to 6 months, depending, I would say argue if you're working out really hard, 3 months, if you think I want to see where I'm at and keep the motivation up. If you're like, I work out and, every 6 months is fine. One of the things we haven't talked about, and I think one of the things that can help people with motivation and the mental aspect of working out and staying fit is if someone's going through body recomp and they don't know it. So they come, they work out here at this beautiful facility in Scottsdale, and they gain 3 pounds of muscle and lose 3 pounds of fat, and the scale says nothing's changed. That can be incredibly demotivating.
For sure.
We can provide that motivation. I mean, it is night and day when someone comes in. When that exact situation comes in, they leave, they're like, I'm headed to the gym right now. I cannot wait to pick up that weight again. This is working. I think that is the mental aspect of it can be powerful. And so I think that's something that's really valuable. And so anyone that's working out and they're like, man, I'm lifting heavier, things feel better, my clothes fit better. Like maybe you already have enough data just on that. But if you're like, but I want to make sure that things are trending in the right direction, we can tell you, provided we had a pretest so we know where you were, that everything is headed in the right direction. So anyone like going through plateaus or that type of thing, because sometimes with body recomp, like you'll lose 5 pounds of fat, you'll keep your muscle, and so the scale changes. But then the next time you lose 2 pounds of fat and gain 2 pounds of muscle, and the scale doesn't change. Well, your body continued to benefit. It was that first 5 pounds was just really easy, we can help you understand like what's happening with your body. And I love telling that story to people when they come in and they get it. I mean, to see someone like, I'm fired up, I can't wait to go work out again. Like, that's awesome.
It should really be, if you think about it, I mean, since healthcare is so fucked, it really should be when you go, again, even blood work though, I don't know what a normal person does. It's like your yearly physical probably. So they pull it once a year. And even that, it's probably pretty limited because I don't think the average, again, there's not a knock. There's a lot of great doctors that work here, and then I've had shitty ones too, and it is what it is. But they don't pull everything, and they don't really care. And so people aren't getting the picture. And if you're in range, then that's okay. But in my take, it's like, do you want to be average? You know, I'd rather be optimal at all things if possible.
Have you heard of Rhythm Health?
Yeah.
So it's monthly blood testing where they mail the thing to your house. And they have this new applicator. You just press a button. They say it's not a needle. I think, anyway, it's way less painless or pain-free than a normal needle. Anyway, they do it. They mail it to you once a month. And they tell you not only what average but optimal is. I'm, again, no affiliation with them, but I'm starting to wonder if like monthly blood testing, I'm going to try it for a year. I'm a guy that'll like biohack on himself, experiment on himself. And I just kind of want to see whether... what changes. So, for example, I got my baseline. I have historically high creatinine levels, not creatine, creatinine. And
Same here.
Yeah, it can be a measure of kidney health, but it can also just be a sign that you have a high protein diet.
It can also be a measure if you're fucking jacked.
Yeah.
That is true too.
So what I've done is...
Because again, that'll fuck with your EGFR.
Correct.
It'll push it down, but if you go like to cysteine C, like that can measure it too. Yeah, I've done the whole piss in a container for days. I've done everything.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
So I've stopped all protein supplementation, but I'm only doing it for 30 days. And this is not, I'm certainly not recommending that people like lower their protein intake. You'll not hear a bigger proponent of everyone hitting their protein goals than me. So I'm running an experiment on myself, and I just want to see what it does to all my biomarkers, but especially creatinine. And then as soon as I get that month up, I'm going to go right back on and start hitting my like 1 gram per pound of body weight, probably even a little higher, especially as I try and get this 10 pounds of muscle back. But I really want to understand what like my dietary choices do to my blood chemistry. And the fact that I can do this on a monthly basis rather than having to talk my doctor into like ordering another blood test or, waiting 6 months to find out, I find this really interesting. So.
No, it is cool. And I've had, my GP she's the best. She lifts, she trains, she knows me. She's amazing.
Not everybody has that.
No, they don't, dude. I've kept her forever, and I hope she never ever retires. Or at least we're about the same age, so hopefully we're done at the same time. Yeah. But it's been helpful because I'm like, anytime I need something or get it, boom, it's done. And to go in, and I've done that, what you're describing, like where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get the numbers. I'll probably am right. Like my creatinine level, the highest, maybe like 1.7 something, give or take. What's the normal range? 1.2?
So,
It's like the high.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, because I eat like once a day typically. It's like 2 pounds of meat and I do my shit, which is a lot to break down at one time. So she's like, hey, break these up into smaller increments because I hate doing that. It's just not how I like to eat. And then cut the volume number down because for me to eat over 200 grams is very simple to do. Like I could just eat meat all fucking day. But I did it. And maybe 60 days max. And that for the first time ever in my adult life, like that number is in the normal range, like 1.1, still high, like 1.15, but in the normal range for as much tissue as I have. And I'm like, so the point is you can't, I guess with all the numbers, you can change them.
Yep.
Through habits. The same thing with, and then sometimes it is genetics. There's some things where it's like like cholesterol stuff, and you'll pull like the lipoproteins and stuff like that. Like my body will produce more. I'm just going to have more. That's just how it's going to be. So I take some of that, like the information, like my VO2 Max, which we'll talk about in a second. I have the number, super cool. It's like the elite level for my age group. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Even if you told me it wasn't, like it would have been better if it wasn't, honestly, because I'm like, well, then I can't improve it. And not that you can't, even if it's there, I go, but it would have made me seem like I was more of a badass because I work super hard and I can outperform. But if it's already good, then I should be doing this.
Yeah.
But the point is that it's nice to have it. But if I'm already doing all the things, it's just a number for me to have.
Yep.
And it's a good benchmark to keep if that's where I want to keep it. And that's why I think like the Dexa scan is great for, I guess, even if you like, I would say if you do it at least every time you do blood work, for sure. And my point of this entire rant was when you get your blood work done at your normal doctor, how much easier would it be if they just had a fucking Dexa scan machine in the same room?
Yeah.
You're sitting there waiting anyway.
Yeah.
They can just plug you in.
You got to be certified to run it, so it's probably like a training issue.
But my God, you can't get these like the intake nurse to like just, it would be so, or just like, hey man, here's your, because now it's like most places don't even do blood work in house. You're going to LabCorp anyway.
Yeah.
So fucking write the script and then write a script for Dexa scan.
Yeah.
How easy would that be?
Yeah.
And now you have a number even if it's once a year. Ideally, I think 3 months or 6 months would probably be.
Yeah.
Because for me to go in there twice a year, you're right down the street, it would be even 4 times a year. It's not hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
For someone living at the edge like you, like, I mean, you're going to notice things before we do.
For me, it would only be when I'm changing the calorie intake.
Yeah.
Because the other stuff's really not going to change until I get like super fucking old. But it'd be more like, okay, if I want to be super hungry for a long period of time, like how low can I go before the quality of my life changes, which I pretty much am close to there. Like, because again, for me, if you're talking like 7, 6, 5, when the stuff gets lower for body fat for people, and I've talked about this on here, the quality of your life does have to change.
Yeah.
Like, and for most people to even live close to 10%, you'll fucking hate your existence. And I'm not saying that to talk you out of it. Do whatever makes you happy. I go, but the amount, again, genetically, you have to be gifted to even be in that range. So that there's that.
Yeah.
But to give up all the things for you, if drinking is a social lubricant and you enjoy it and you're more extrovert than me, to give that up, you're fucking miserable. Yeah. So you're a little bit leaner and no one gives a shit.
And your friends are giving you shit for no reason when you could absolutely have that beer.
Yeah. And like, even for me, like, and I got friends who've never drank. And like, I used to drink 20 beers. Now I drink like 2. I go, so there's that. I go, but I feel better that way. It works for me. Yeah. My life is what I look like. So there's that whole piece. And so that's kind of the nice thing is you at least get the number. But for me, it would be that. If I'm going to eat way more and, hey, I'm going to go up to 200 and I'm probably too old at this point, but like, hey, I'm going to go to 220 pounds. How lean can I be at 220 and look this way and feel this way? And does it take away from performance or add to it? So I think it's cool just because like that's the one I probably would give a shit about the most. And it's the easiest. It's the least invasive. Yeah. Versus like a VO2 Max, which is the gold standard of the cardio testing. And even with that, like I'll talk about it super fast. Yeah. Like you go in, you put a Bane mask on essentially. And
talk like Bane.
Yeah. It is harder to breathe than your normal breathing. Yeah. I'm not like we have the free runners, but I'm not a running guy in general. Like I could run for an hour without stopping. We still run a mile like once a year to test it. I do Murph obviously. Yeah. But looking at the ground with a thing strapped to your face is not the most natural thing, but it's not hard to do. And it's just basically it's like I'm on here and like how uncomfortable do I want to be until I stop? Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah. Like, and if I'm like, if I could see the numbers in real time, I probably would keep running just to fucking die on there, to see, you know what I'm saying? Like a score, like that's it. I go, but other than that, like run until you can't and get a good baseline number and it'll kind of show you where you're at. And I think like if it was my stuff, it's elite for my age group, which is like, I don't know, like 60 or something, but the highest fucking dude is like 97. Yeah. Which is fucking bonkers, dude. Yeah. Like there's no training I can do to ever get even remotely close to this fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's the highest ever recorded, so
it's like you playing golf. Yeah. And you're gonna practice every day. You're not Tiger, bro. No. No matter what you do.
No matter what I do.
And so I do like where you give people a number, and that's where I'm not a comparison person, but we do keep stats in America on everything. Yeah. But it's nice to know, hey man, if you're a dude in your 40s and this is a number, you're like the top of people who do this. Like that's a good, and then to know there's a fucking huge ocean of triathletes and fucking savages who are in a different atmosphere together. Yeah. But if you work out, you should know that, right? Yeah. Like you should generally know, like there's guys here that still run 4-minute miles.
I would argue everyone should know it at least once. The guy that scored the 97.5, I think he was a Norwegian cross-country skier that won like every gold medal that he ever competed in the Olympics.
That's fucking wild.
It's
dude.
Wild.
It's
just wild.
So high, bro.
So I can't even... I'm not even sure our equipment could test that. That might be another level of testing. Maybe it did. Maybe it could.
He's a one of one.
Yeah, he's one of one.
Unicorn.
Yeah. But the creme de la creme, like Tour de France athletes, who are usually the people that we hold up as like the best endurance athletes in the world, they're going to be in the 80s. The winner's probably going to be in the low 90s. Like
bonkers.
It's
dude.
bonkers. But and the amount of exertion they can hold and maintain for hours is astronomical.
That's the thing.
The key to being an endurance athlete isn't to have a high VO2 max. It's to have your base be your base is so high that it surpasses other people's maximums.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like fighting, right? Like if it's and you got to know what type of athlete you are. Like if you're like type 1, type 2 guy. Like I'm more of a sprint guy.
Yep.
Those are sports I did well in.
Type 2 muscle fibers, explosive athlete.
I can still, like in my older age, run a mile under 6 minutes. Now I got to die at this weight to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm great for 1 mile. I can't run 10 miles. Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I can, but slow as fuck.
Yeah.
It's like I have knockout power.
Yeah.
You know, I can.
Yeah.
But round 3, 4, and 5, I start to just.
Yeah, so there's explosiveness, which is usually measured by how much type 2 muscle fiber you have, fast twitch, slow twitch, etc.
Yeah.
And then people with endurance athlete, they have a lot of the other type of muscle, type 1, slow twitch, but they also have incredibly efficient mitochondria in their cells, and they're unbelievable at absorbing oxygen out of the blood or extracting oxygen out of the blood, converting it into energy, and doing that at such a high efficient rate that there's less waste product that is what slows you down. And so we hear like lactate threshold. Lactate is the output of mitochondria converting oxygen into power. And they're just incredibly efficient at that. The good news is anyone can train their mitochondria. Not everyone can be the one-on-one guy, but everyone can improve it. And everyone should. So let's talk about what VO2 max measures, and so people can understand it a little better. So the number that you mentioned, 97.5, yours is around 60. I'm 54, mine's over 50. What that number actually means
So in your 50s, that's like elite?
I think I just crossed into the superior range.
Yeah.
So
because the age matters too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's another thing. It goes down with age. Like the guy that got 97.5, he didn't do it as an 80-year-old. He did it when he was 24. So what it measures is how many milliliters of oxygen your body can consume per kilogram of body weight per minute. So right in there, just listening to the actual units of measure, if you have a 50, just to pick an even number, if you have a 50 VO2 max and you weigh 200 pounds and you lose 20 pounds and you keep the same cardiovascular system, nothing changes, your VO2 max goes up because you're dividing by your body weight. So anytime you lower your body weight, your VO2 max goes up. There's a limit to how low that will benefit. Ultimately, it's got to be the improvement in the cardiovascular system. So that's what it's actually measuring. And the systems that it uses to get to that number is, the mask on your face is measuring literally how much oxygen comes out versus how much oxygen you exhale. We're not completely efficient beings. So if I just to do bullshit units, if I inhale 100 units of oxygen and I'm going to exhale like 17 or 18 units of oxygen. I didn't use 17 to 18% of the oxygen that I inhaled. That's just life. We don't do it at 100%. But I might exhale 17 to 18%. You might only exhale 13%. And that's one of the reasons that you can consume more oxygen is your lungs have the ability to extract it out of the air. So there's 3 systems that are being tested in a VO2 max test. Your pulmonary system, how much oxygen can your lungs pull out of the air? Your cardiovascular system, how much oxygen can your heart pump via blood throughout your body? And your musculature, how much of that oxygen can your muscles extract and use from the blood? And any one of those systems can fail you or be less efficient than the others. So I know for a fact, we have a different test. We didn't run you through it when you came by the office, but we have a different one where you have to maybe run for 30 to 45 minutes with breaks. That will tell us which one of those systems is limiting. So I know my muscles can absorb all the oxygen my body can throw at it. My training opportunities are pulmonary, so training my lungs to training the muscles around my lungs to expand more, like do altitude training, things like that to teach it how to extract more oxygen. But my number one is cardiovascular. And that's just endurance training. That's like getting on a bike or a treadmill and doing hours of work to train it better. But I know empirically that that's my opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds awful, actually. Like, if you like it, though, those people tend to enjoy those activities, too.
Yeah.
It's like the people that are the best, it's like, A, you're good at it, you like it, and then there's some extrinsic, like, carrot that you chase and kind of go through it.
Yeah.
So for a normal person, like, who's listening, and I know you can talk about zone 2 shit and all the training stuff. I guess it's good for anybody to know the baseline, and even if you're somebody who's not fit, like, because the test, the two things. One, women and men are different in the regard because the dudes are just higher on average than women.
They have more muscle, and so they can absorb more oxygen.
Because like the highest lady on there was like high 70s or something.
Exactly.
Fucking nuts too.
Yeah.
Because again, if I took like, let's say like Monica or Meredith because she like loves to run. If we go both run for an hour, I'm not going to see her at the end.
Yeah.
Like there's just no way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like she just has this. The pacing is just a little bit faster than I would go.
Yeah.
And she doesn't get tired as long. She also weighs 110 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm another whole person compared to her.
Yeah.
So there's that piece. But two, like for someone who's not fit to come in, their test looks different than like mine would.
Absolutely.
Just because like I'm at a pretty good incline, at a pretty good clip, and I'm just trying not to fall on my face and die.
Yeah.
Where they're probably, I imagine, if you're an obese person, you're walking to start.
Yep.
Is that what it looks like?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So on our test, it's a graded test, which means you're going to be on a treadmill. We're going to get a bike. You can do it on either. I mean, technically, you can measure VO2 max. If you had a waterproof mask, you could do it in the pool. You could do it on a ski erg. It doesn't matter. The whole point is to get your heart rate up gradually over time. And we measure how much oxygen you're consuming the entire time. And we watch it go up. We watch your heart rate go up. And we're figuring out what like your max output is. And so you're going to start, our goal is to get you to your absolute maximum, like your max heart rate to the point where you cannot go any longer in about 15 minutes, maybe a little under, but definitely not more. And so we're going to figure out a protocol for you. We have 5 or 6 that we use. And we can stress you in 3 different ways. We can stress you with incline, we can stress you with speed, or we can stress you with duration. For our normal VO2 max, we never use duration because that's like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. We could for that special limiter test. So if anyone's listening and they're a cyclist and they want to do a century and they care about like peak performance and understanding what training they need to do to get there, then we can do like, think of it as a VO2 max plus test, like an extra thing.
Yeah.
So we never use really duration except in those exceptional circumstances. And so if you're crazy fit, Meredith, what we're going to do is we're going to test her with speed. We're going to put her on a treadmill. We're going to put her at a 1 degree incline, very minimal. And we're just going to make every 2 minutes, it's going to go faster and faster until like with her, I can't remember what we did with her, but it might be her last 2 minutes before she literally cannot go any further. She might be running like 4.5, 5-minute miles speed after having already exercised for 10 to 12 minutes. We're asking you like go on a 12-minute, like pretty good jog and then sustain a sprint for 2 minutes. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's at the end, it sucks.
It sucks. Or for the obese people, we're going to stress you with incline. So we're going to put you at a walking speed. We may not ever even get you to a jog, but you might be at 15 degrees of incline by the end. And
sucks too.
Sucks. Yeah. And no matter what, no matter how we get there, at the end, you're at your max heart rate and you're at your max aerobic output, and it's going to suck.
It is nice to see, again, even for me, like I'm not a guy, I don't love running, but having to be like on a 3 incline and then they just keep pumping up the pace. Like at the end, you're moving at, because again, it's the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
You're most tired doing the hardest work at the end. I'm like, this sucks, dude.
The thing too is you'll get people in, like a typical thing will be someone will say, I'm a runner and I run 7-minute miles. And so we use that to like come up with our protocol. And we'll say, okay, we'll get you to 7 minutes at the end, but it's going to be at a 3 degree grade. And they're like, no, you don't understand. Like 7 is what I can maintain. If I only have to do 1 mile, I could get down to like 5.5, 6. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what a 3-degree grade is going to do to you, or a 4-degree grade.
No, dude.
After having done like a 12-minute warm up for you, and now you're at your absolute maximum running uphill. And they're like, yeah, it turns out the 7-minute at 4 degrees was their max. They're not even sniffing 6, you know.
No, your legs weigh. It's doing Murph. Dude.
You feel the lactate building up. It's horrible.
It is a painful thing.
Yeah.
I go, but it is nice to have and kind of know. So if someone comes in like, hey, I test my VO2 max, or just in general, honestly, I think that one for normal people, it's nice to know. It's like a cool number, but I think more so for people who don't do as much exercise, or really who only strength train. So there's dudes specifically, they only, and I'm not saying like dudes who really train, but like the bench, I'm going to go in a bench press and do curls and like squat once a week. It's like, for you guys, I think it's ideal to go in.
Yep.
Because it does allow you to do more cool shit. It really does. Like that's my, if you asked me 20 years ago, I'd have been like, short of sports, I wouldn't really see the benefit of it. But as I'm like older, it's like not just to, especially if you have like kids and shit and you're going to run around with your kids, because these motherfuckers don't get tired at all. I go, but also like to go hike, to ride a bike, to do cool stuff, and like to see cool places.
To be invited to go on that Grand Canyon hike and know you can do it, and you're not going to be in trouble.
Yeah, dude. And that's like, because again, we've done a million of these things. That's obviously by far probably the longest for sure. And that's where you're like the first time in my life where I'm like, oh, like, because even like Havasu Pai and Humphreys and Rainy, like all these other hikes we've done, I could like just fitness my way out of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just fit enough to like, that one's where it's like, oh, you could just be dead.
Yeah.
And like this will still go on. And it is an endurance. It's as much mental as physical too, but you have to have the physical tools to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for a normal person who maybe is just like kind of a weekend fitness warrior type, or even someone who doesn't really exercise. Just know where you're at, because if you do suck, you can get, especially again, the cool thing is the worse you are, the bigger the ceiling.
Yeah.
If you can, so the people who don't move much can improve VO2 max just by fucking walking.
Absolutely.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, it comes down. We talked a little bit about zones, and we haven't got into it. I actually think that might be the more valuable thing that you get with the VO2 max test, is understanding what your training zones are. We talked about the Tour de France cyclists. The training they do, they spend 80 to 85% of their time in zone 2. And they spend 15 to 20% of their time in zone 5. And in case anyone's not familiar with zones, it's just basically percentage of your max heart rate that your heart beats at. Because there's a lot of research that training in zone 2 trains that mitochondria, increases your endurance, increases your VO2 max. It's your most efficient training zone.
So for these guys, like give them the zone 2 example.
So the normal way of estimating max heart rate, everyone's different, so take this with a grain of salt. But let's say you're 30 years old, you're a guy. Actually, this is true for women too. You take 220 minus your age. So your theoretical max heart rate is 190 beats per minute. So now, to figure out your zone 2 without doing a VO2 max test, this is, again, high error bars on this, but if you want a rough estimate, it's 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So 60% of 190 is, trying to do the math in my head right now, about 125 or something like that.
Yeah. Like you're working hard, but you can still
could have a
talk.
Conversation. Yeah. And the example I always give is, if you're in your zone 2, let's say you're doing it on a walk, and even if it's an uphill walk, or you're rucking, you have weight on your back or whatever it takes to get that heart rate up, and a bear is chasing you, you'd be able to stay that distance. Like if the bear's chasing you at your zone 2 rate, you'd be able to stay in front of that bear for 12, 14, 16 hours. No problem. Like you wouldn't have a problem. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, you're in fear for your life for that whole time. You would consistently be able to do that. Whereas in zone 5, you have about 2 minutes before the bear catches you, because zone 5, all your energy systems, or the only energy system you're using in zone 5 is the glycogen that's in your muscles. You have about 2 minutes supply. Once that's gone, your zone 5 is done. There's nothing you can do about it. So much less like talk to people like you're out of breath. You can't form sentences,
It's our Sundays here.
It's a minute a sprint on the assault bike. You hate yourself, and you can't talk to someone.
Done.
Yeah. And so that zone 2 is the opposite. And what it is because it doesn't reach that point where you tap into these energy systems that are depletable, you're in an energy system that is infinitely renewable, and you can just keep going forever. And like a Tour de France cyclist can spend 20 to 25 hours a week in zone 2. Now, we're not recommending that. The ideal dose of zone 2, if you look at the research, if for an average person, is 3 to 6 hours. So, if you could do an hour a day for 5 days, like you're right in the sweet spot of zone 2 training. If you do heavy weights, which everyone should be doing, if you paid attention to our talk on muscle mass and the importance, do your weightlifting, finish with a zone 2 ride or a zone 2 thing on the treadmill. That's like really ideal. That's how you're going to train it up. And it's so important because we talked a lot about elite athletes and the top end of the VO2 max scale, but the difference between being not in superior but excellent, so you're in the group below superior, versus poor, so not even very poor. So the scale we use is like very poor, poor, fair, good, very good, superior. So six things. So the difference between in group 2 and group 5, so you're not the best, and at the bottom you're not the worst, is the difference between smoking and not smoking. That's
crazy.
That's crazy. And so knowing where you are on that scale, so that can be incredibly motivating. If you get your VO2 max and you realize you're in an area where it's like you don't smoke, but it's kind of like you do, like that can be a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And then, so that's one thing. And then the other thing the VO2 max gives you is it tells you exactly what your zones are. So instead of doing that 60 to 70% estimate, it'll say your zone 2 is 96 beats per minute to 114. I think if I remember correctly, yours were somewhat narrow. You had like a 9 beat per minute zone 2.
Oh, dude, we go from fucking 0 to 100 here.
Yeah.
Like the only zone, I mean, like, and not that we don't do, like personally, I mean, like, lifting is interval training in essence. As it goes high, it comes low.
Yeah.
The steady state stuff, like I'll do. I mean, I ruck a ton for sure.
Yeah.
We'll sled push, like just boring shit, like push a sled for 20 minutes. Not at a load that's so heavy, but I just hate the monotony of like running. And so like it'll be do step ups for 20 minutes.
If you're as fit as you are, we'd have to go back and check, and you'd have to measure your heart rate while you're rucking. I bet zone 2, a ruck, like a 40-pound ruck, for however long you do it, that might be your zone 2. So you might be doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. Because everything else, like when we do, like today we did 10K ski. Yeah. Which is about a 40-minute clip. Faster, like team style. So we change every 2 minutes. So it's dive for 2 minutes. And then like there's a break of like push up, squat, run the building. But and then you do get a reprieve in that. But it's
that's interval training. That's not zone 2 is steady state constant.
This is like my watch will go to like straight 5.
Yeah.
Like you're just fucking dying.
Yeah.
So that's like, but I like that though.
And it's incredibly good for you.
But most people, that's a miserable experience.
Yeah.
I guess the point is, for me, like the zone 2 stuff is the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's the easiest shit to do.
Absolutely.
With the biggest bang for your buck.
Absolutely.
And yet people don't do it.
So if you think of your fitness as a triangle, where the base is your endurance as measured by like how much output you can have when you're in zone 2. So for cyclists, for example, the metric that you always see on bikes is wattage, right?
Yep.
So if you're in your zone 2, like me and a Tour de France cyclist could both be on a bike doing our zone 2. The difference is I'm pushing out 200 watts and he's pushing out 350 watts, even though we're in our zone 2s.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you measure your base. The peak is VO2 max, right? And so having both of those things trained is what's important. If you want to do it. So if you train in zone 2, you will train that base. You will also train a little bit of the VO2 max. If you train zone 5, what you're training, you'll train a lot of your VO2 max and a little bit of your endurance. And what we'd like to see for the average person is do both. Don't train one system.
No, and again, it all, if you're training enough, it all does, you can, obviously if you spend more time doing it consistently, like it improves quicker, but it all does bleed together. Yeah. Like we do a lot of the erg shit here. So like the row ski bikes, and we have the assault bikes too. Yeah. But the concept stuff is the best just to track, right? So for me to row at a 147 clip, I'm not going to die. But there's people here that's like a fucking PR. Yeah. So that any of that wasn't always the case. Yeah. But over time, it just became this and I do think the longer stuff you do where this is general people, like when you're training, like I used to think a 5K row was long until we rode a fucking marathon.
Did you do the marathon row?
It's terrible, bro.
Oh.
And we did
The CrossFit Games guys, they came off like barely able to walk.
That's rough, dude. It's just it's an investment. I will say the two things. One, because it popped up yesterday. When's the summer solstice? Is the 21st, right? Always, yeah. So it popped up on. There's a guy here. He's actually done like a handful of Ironmans named Jeremy Williams. He was here today. But he did 100K on the erg bike here one day, which is about 3 hours and like 30 minutes. But he brought his pedals clipped in, just stuck them in the fucking corner. So he's the guy who always asks, like, hey, do you want to do this dumb shit? And I'm like, I'll do it. So we did when we did the summer solstice, which was like 21,000, but a half marathon's like 21,090 some meters.
Yeah.
We'll clip in for those and row those, ski those. But yeah, it's a 3 hour commitment to do a full marathon. And you got to put on it's called D's nuts. You got to put it like on your taint because your fucking shit will get so numb. It's all the cyclists that he fucking use. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But he like loves that stuff. So he'll go for 80 mile bike rides and it's fun. I don't love it, but I'm like, I can do those things enough because over time. But my point is that the longer duration stuff, when you do, and that's insane. Nobody has to do that. I go, but when you row for 3 hours or ski for 3 hours, which is fucking boring as hell and bonkers.
Yeah.
To ski for 15 minutes is a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there is something to be said about these longer things, making the stuff that you used to think was long much more chewable for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the mental game, though, too. I mean, you have to be able to do the marathon row. If you're just not capable of doing that, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you are capable of doing it and you've never done it, you should do it for that exact reason.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I look at all the things.
But 42,000 meters on a Concept 2 rower, that's no joke.
It's and I said this too. I go, and I know because I ski a little slower than I row. And both relatively quick for a normal dude, like our buddies that are elite. It's
hard to get your leg muscles into the rower. That's the thing.
It's I do say the skiing I prefer it only for the fact of you can kind of move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Now and again, like our buddies who do this crazy shit, like they never miss. Like everything, it's 43 strokes a minute. Every minute, the split times are always the same. It's almost like a computer's doing
robotic.
It's crazy to watch.
Yeah.
If I'm on there for that fucking long, like I'll split stance, I'll move around. I like it. When you row, you're just there. And like, I don't even want to get a drink of water because it slows you down. And I just want to fucking get off the thing.
Well, and there comes a point where any movement, your ass hurts. Like you reaching for the water makes it worse.
It's bad. Yeah. It's a different thing. I go, but all those things, that's the way I think about like body fat. Like I'm not saying live sub 10%. I go, but if you're a coach or you're somebody who like try it one time.
Yeah.
See how fucking miserable it is or how much you do or don't like it. So that way, when you talk to your clients, you're not just saying shit to say it. Because it's like sometimes coaches do that. And I'm like, and I'm not saying you have to live there, but if you've never done it, like I'm going to go tell you to run a fucking marathon, but I've never ran a marathon. I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think there is something to be said like, oh, I've done it. I'll tell you how much it does or doesn't suck for me. And then
what's the mileage on the rim to rim to rim? You got to be close. 21?
47.8.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. That's legit, dude. It depends on which one you go down. Yeah, because our buddy.
It's 20 something one way. Yeah,
yeah. So if you go up, whether it's Bright Angel or Kaibab, it changes the mileage. But one of them, I'm going to get them mixed up. One of the inclines is worse than the other. I got a dude who's done it for like 15 years in a row. He loves it. Him and his wife go every year. He's like, always do. I'm like, I can't do this every year with you, dude. Like I'm a guy who's like, because to get to the bottom takes like what, maybe 3 hours, give or take, from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. I'm a guy who's about an hour and a half in, and I'm like, I'm good. I get it.
I've seen what I've came to see.
Super. I mean, there's more cool shit as you go, but it's just like, it's a bitch to do. We'll do this last one here, and I'll get you out of here. Yeah. The RMR test for these guys. Who is it for? Why? How accurate? What can they do with it?
Yeah. So resting metabolic rate, it calculates how many calories you burn at rest. So if you never got out of bed or if you never got off the couch for 24 hours, barely used the bathroom, what would you burn? And the reason that's important is it's the basis for accurate nutrition planning. So people, just to give people an example.
How does the test work? Too?
Yeah. Same mass that you use on the VO2, we put it on you, and then we put you in a literal recliner for 10 minutes and tell you to breathe normally, don't fall asleep. First 5 minutes, system calibrates to your breath. Last 5 minutes, it literally measures how much oxygen you consume. I don't think people appreciate this, like when they lose weight. Like, what is the mechanism for losing weight? Like, where does the weight go? I was 200 pounds. Now I'm 195. Literally, where did that 5 pounds go? And I think people think they shit it out or piss it out or whatever. You breathe it out. Like you literally burn. You are combusting the fat. It's turning it into the components that the body needs, and the rest of it goes out. You exhale it. And that's why measuring your breath is the best way of measuring how many calories you're burning. Yeah. And so we can tell you to a calorie. Now, granted, it's a 5-minute sample. If we measured you for an hour, would it be a more accurate sample? Yes. But all the research has shown that we can get you with like 99+% accuracy just in that 5-minute time period. And it's not worth sitting there for an hour or 2 hours to get that extra level of accuracy.
And like that test too, because again, like when you do, like Dexa Scan is, I'm sure it has a couple things too, but I remember like Bod Pod, it'd be like, don't take any caffeine. Don't be dehydrated. Don't be whatever. Like, what can fuck with that if you're going to test?
Yeah.
Like that one.
So our recommendation, bordering on a requirement, like if someone says, no, give me the test, I don't care, like we'll do it, but is 5 hours of fasting, no food, no caffeine, no calories of any sort, but show up hydrated. So don't deprive yourself of water.
Yeah.
So be hydrated, show up fasted, no stimulants, no drugs, no caffeine for 5 hours, and then we test you. And the people that anyone that's trying to accomplish something with like body composition and needs accurate nutrition to get there should use it. And the most common one is people that have reached plateaus and don't understand why. And what they normally find out is there's basal metabolic rate calculators or resting metabolic rate calculators online. You put in your gender, your age, your height. I meant not age. Your gender, your height, and your weight, and it'll say based on everything we know, you burn 1,700 calories at rest. And for a population level, that can be incredibly accurate. For an individual person, it can be incredibly inaccurate. And we see errors off that base estimation of 30% or more. So the online calculator will tell them you should be at 1,700, and we'll measure them, and they're at like 2,300, like a 600 calorie difference. And so if you're like, I'm trying to get into a 500 calorie deficit so I can lose weight, and I'm not losing weight, well, you might have a slow metabolism. If you're trying to gain muscle and you can't figure out why you can't, you might have a fast metabolism, and it might not be just a little fast, it might be a lot fast. And that's what we measure. We give you an accurate measure of how many calories you burn at rest, so that when you add in the food that you eat and how much calories it takes to digest it and what your physical activity level is, you can now really dial in on what your accurate calorie target should be. And then you combine that with like how much lean mass you have or what your total body weight is. I kind of prefer lean mass. And you can really understand what your protein target should be. You can really understand what your fiber targets can be. I think a lot of people underestimate the role that fiber plays in nutrition. And
they don't fucking eat it.
Yeah, they don't. Exactly. And if you know exactly what your protein target should be, you now know exactly what your calorie target should be, and we change your diet a little bit to ensure that you get that fiber intake. That's how you break through plateaus, and that's what an RMR is for.
And it is the easiest test because you basically just sit there and do nothing.
We put you in a dark room. We don't force you. We tell you can be dark if you want. We'll turn the lights out, and you just sit there for 10 minutes. And the only thing is, don't fall asleep. Don't talk to people. Don't, if you have your phone in your pocket, which we tell people not to do, don't look at your phone. Don't answer it. Don't talk to people. Just sit there and do nothing for 10 minutes. Don't fall asleep. And we'll give you an accurate calorie estimator for your body. And I shouldn't even say accurate. We'll tell you how many calories you burn at rest.
No, it is pretty chill. I did have a guy in the podcast, Akshay, was here. He did 10 days in the dark. He did it twice. When was it 7 times? He did like 7 days, a couple times.
Is he an Instagram guy? Is he doing it for the views? Or?
He's I can send you the podcast. He actually lost 2 fingers on an Antarctica trip. He did 60 days solo by himself.
Oh,
yeah, he's a fucking savage, bro. But he goes, I have to challenge myself. So he did 10 days in the dark, like the last time, and he did just juices one juice a day, but then at the end he did no food because he's like, I want to do it with no food too.
So he's a guy that looks at like David Goggins and says, "That bitch."
Yeah. It's literally but he's like the nice. Yeah. He's the nicest dude ever. But yeah, he did it was 60 days in Antarctica with pulling a 500-pound sled by himself.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing. No one's out there, and he had to cut the second finger off. He brought me. I have a video of it too because he cut his finger off, and then the finger off. It was fucking bonkers. Anyways, that's what it reminded me of when I was in there. So I was in there doing the RMR test in the dark, and I'm like, yeah, bitch. 10 minutes. I'm right there with him. But no, it is the easiest one to do, and it is beneficial because you guys give a breakdown of like, again, like how many calories, and again, everybody's different too, and that's like, I guess with the basal metabolic rate stuff, like where you look at it, if I fill it out, hey, I'm a 42-year-old dude who's 200 some pounds and all this is this, but so if another guy does too, we're not the same.
Not at all.
Like I have buddies of mine who we're similar in height and weight and age and everything, but
you might be hundreds of calories apart on what your base rate is.
Because like their body fat, my body fat, my muscle mass, their muscle mass, and my genetics versus like I got a buddy who we're almost the same size. But yet he was once 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to 300 pounds if I tried, dude. You know what I mean? Like, so and he can eat a pizza and gain 10 pounds. Yeah. I can eat a pizza and like,
yeah.
And so like, there's that too.
I would say too, we talked about people on like GLP-1s, getting your RMR.
I guess I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
It could be really important because the GLP-1s, semaglutide, whatever, they're going to kill your appetite. That's what they do, right? Amongst other things. Now we want to make sure we had that example at the beginning where, hey, you're going to lose 100 pounds, but we don't want you to lose 50 pounds of muscle and 50 pounds of fat. We want it to be more like 80-20, 90-10. What do you need to be eating? Because if all of a sudden you put yourself in like unintentionally, you're not even hungry and you're in like a 1,500 calorie a day deficit, you're going to bleed weight. You're going to look at the scale. You're going to be so happy, but you're going to be in that situation where you're losing muscle. And so now you might have to fight to eat a little bit more than you were expecting. And you absolutely should be looking at your protein target to make sure that you're hitting your protein so that when you work out, you maintain that muscle. So it's not just for people that are, hey, I just want to get into a 500 calorie deficit and lose some weight. It can really be like, are you losing the right weight? It's more than just calories. It's, are you fueling your body properly?
I do think for the GLP-1 shit, the two biggest things is one, jack steel, like lift weights, and two, if the protein intake can be sufficient, because it's probably only two things you can do to mitigate the muscle loss. I mean,
absolutely.
To make it not catastrophic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I guess I didn't even think of that, but that's probably the best.
And lift heavy. Great, move some steel, awesome, but don't do the bodybuilder like 30 rep sets. Do the heavy lifting. Get at least like 2 to 3 reps away from failure. You know,
I guess you can do. I mean, hypertrophy is anything from probably like 5 to 50 reps. So I guess you could do 50 reps, but you have to be close to failure at 50.
That's true.
No one's gonna fucking sit there and do that.
Yeah.
So for most people, like around 10 is probably the magic number.
But I would argue even with hypertrophy, that's also one goal. The bone density is the other, and you'll get more bang for the buck on the heavy sets.
The heavier loads.
Yeah.
You got to move heavy shit, dude.
You got to move heavy shit.
The original exercise.
Yeah.
So for the average person, like who comes in, like what do you tell them to do every test, or like what would you suggest for like someone who's listening right now? They're like, well, the things that I care about versus not. I guess what do most people do? Because we did everything when we were there.
Everyone gets a Dexa scan. That's by far. It's just because it's got the most publicity. Most people talk about it.
But like GLP-1 people, do you tell them like, hey, Dexa scan and the RMR? I would say.
Yeah.
Or can you talk them into it?
Man, yeah, that's the thing. Is I really try not to be too salesy. These are what we offer. This is what they do. What do you want? Rather than you should buy this, you should buy that.
But I feel like that would make sense because if you want a calorie number, because that's the thing, like where you're like, okay, I'm going to be at a slight deficit or a slight surplus, and even if the numbers aren't like 100%, like to give you for a normal person, they have no fucking idea. Is what I'm saying. So to have a ballpark. At least a baseline to know, because that's what I always ask people, like when they come in and like, hey, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm like, well, what do you do right now? How much do you eat right now?
Yeah.
And they have no idea.
Yeah.
And so like, well, it's hard for me I can give you a prescription based off that, but if I'm so far left and you're so far right, it's going to be like pulling fucking teeth to get you there.
Yeah.
And also for most people, the tracking of, again, we talk about this, the FDA can be off by 20% legally.
Yeah.
So, and not that matters a ton, but if your peanut butter is off by 20%, bro, and you think you're eating 2 tablespoons, but let's be fucking real.
Yeah.
You're doing at least 6, dude. Nobody eats 2 tablespoons.
Peanut butter's awesome.
Yeah. So it's like now you think you're at, 200 calories, but you're really at 600 calories, or you're at 280, but twice a day, every day for 7 days. Well, now I'm at a, 400 calorie surplus versus, I think all that's important, especially if your goal is fat loss, weight loss, or anything. So the Dexa scan and the RMR stuff kind of go hand in hand to me.
I'm probably going to butcher this, but there's the American College of Sports Medicine or something like that, sports science. I can't remember what it is.
Like ACSM?
Yeah. And they do a lot of their own original research. And unlike Apple Rings and like, do you get your stand hours and do you hit your calories? They actually have 4 metrics. And it is calories. It is all those, it is like lifting weights and endurance and all that. But the one thing that we haven't talked about is balance. And they have a metric for balance per week. And I might be getting this wrong, but I want to say it was like 150 minutes a week of balance stuff. And balance isn't you standing on one leg. It's putting your body into positions that it needs to trains lower muscle or smaller muscles that don't get trained when you just do like leg press machine or back squat or whatever. And so playing basketball, playing pickleball, playing racquetball, going for hikes on uneven surfaces. These are things that get you that 150 minutes. It's not anything we test at DexaFit, but anyone that's listening to it, if you want to hit your full capacity as a human being, you have to incorporate these things, and play is an incredible way of getting to that 150 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's a shit that none of us do. I mean, we do it here just because we can build it in. So like, I buy all the shit here. It's like we like bought a Papa Shot. Like we buy bags. Like we just gamify everything, and then we throw shit.
Even Papa Shot, you're moving left to right to grab the ball. It hits the rim, you got to grab it.
Yeah. But you think about like, oh, you do that to warm up, and it's like you did all this dynamic movement, and it's way better than you. I don't want to say better. It's just you don't hate it like you hate a couch stretch or like you doing shin boxes and stuff like that. So no, it's a huge piece, and a lot of adults miss it. And if you can find a good place, obviously, like it's helpful. The last thing I'll get you out of here, I guess, like what's for. Obviously, I'll put all your stuff in the show notes where they can find you guys. You're literally on the other side of the air park. It's 5 minutes from here.
Yep.
And again, like I said, the Dexa scan and the RMR test is it's the laziest, easiest thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
The VO2 Max is like, it's not bad.
It's hard for 5 minutes. It's a 15-minute test. It's hard for 5.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's just what you make it.
Yeah.
It's like riding the assault bike. Like it's fine, and if you punch it, it sucks, dude.
Yeah.
But like, what's one big bang like for your buck thing? Like the average folks out there, like they can come do. Like you would tell them, like, hey, just come in, do them all up front, or I guess you kind of treat it like a case by case basis. Or I guess the last thing, maybe I'll ask. There was something on there. I swear, we did like the Cliff's Notes version. Like offboarding that you guys do, because all 3 of us were there. But you do, it's like a biological age thing. Is that on there too?
Yeah. So to get our full biological age, you have to do a Dexa scan, a VO2 max, and a resting metabolic rate. Those 3 things all contribute to what we consider biological age. I'll say it up front. It is an estimate. Obviously, we're not doing blood testing. There's other things that can go in there.
Not to interrupt you. Who's the weird fucking dude that's trying to live to 1 million?
Oh, the Don't Die guy.
He's like super pale. He looks like a vampire. Sorry. Does that mean? Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
He's like, that's like, he's trying to be like 20, but he's like 50.
Yeah.
Or how, I don't know how old he is.
Yeah.
But he's trying to like, live forever. He has this whole routine. It sounds like he's the not going to do anything because I don't want to get hurt guy.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't drink a beer, dude, and smoke a cigar, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
That's just my take.
Yeah.
Like, I live a little bit dangerous. But my point is, you do give a biological age. That's why I thought of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a good, because D-Lo came in. Dave's my guy here. He came into your place the day after we were there.
Yep.
And he like sent me his thing. Like his biological age was like, he's 50 something, but it was way younger.
Yeah, because he works out here.
Yeah.
We look at population curves and where people fall, like on the life expectancy scale, based on the information we have about their body. And if you have a high VO2 max and low body fat percentage, especially with low visceral fat, and you have a lot of muscle and you have a low resting heart rate, you're going to live longer than somebody else. So take any of the, I mean, there's the epigenetic clock things, blood tests that you can get. You can, there's other people that calculate biological age. And as someone, as a purveyor of this, that shows up on my reports, I'm still telling you this is the most like, take it with a grain of salt metric that we have. But it's meaningful, but it's not the be all end all. But it's useful. And if you come in and you do it and you're 50 years old and it tells you you're 70, I would hope the takeaway from this isn't I'm going to be dead soon. I would hope the takeaway is I need to do something about this. And you absolutely can. You absolutely can. None of this, no one should be fatalistic when they're doing like sports diagnostic testing. Like genetics is destiny. There's nothing I can do. This will give you a snapshot of where you are and hopefully motivate you to do better. Or if you're already doing great, motivate you to keep doing what you're doing and not, let things slip. That's all that is.
Yeah. Well, they're just snapshots in time, man.
Yeah.
Like there's dudes who fucking puffing cigs for 30 years. They stop smoking. It's like the lungs, a lot of that shit recovers.
Yeah.
The people who they're Breaking Bad, smoking meth like crazy, and then all of a sudden now they're like living like savages. The crazy thing is, and not forever, there comes a point of like you fall off a cliff, but you can beat the fuck out of your body, dude.
Yeah.
And genetics is different. Some people can really abuse it, some people can't as much, but you can beat the shit out of yourself and like really abuse this machine.
Yeah.
And then you can turn the Titanic around.
Absolutely. And, I would never count on it, but I also say, like, don't overlook the randomness involved. I'm not counting on randomness. Like, I could do everything I could possibly do in my power. You clearly are doing that. And can you get pancreatic cancer and be dead in 3 months? Like, sure. You can, right? So don't, you can't take that away from it. But it reminds me, at one point she was a nun in France. She was the oldest living woman. I think she was 114. And when a reporter asked her, "What's your key to longevity?" and she said, "This whiskey that I have every day." Like,
That's have you seen? They've had that meme, and they used the Brian Johnson guy.
Yeah.
They put him, and it's like wants to live to like whatever. And then they show this like Italian dude who's like fucking been baking in the sun, puffing cigs, drinking wine. Like this guy lived to like 150.
Yeah.
And like the point is like, even if again, it's all fun information. It's all nice to have just to know if there is things that you can improve.
It's about giving yourself the best chance.
Yeah, because like again, for me, a lot of these, like some of the blood work stuff, the longer I do it, the more I kind of tell those guys to fuck off, because I'm like, I'm not really going to change any of the behaviors at this point. Yeah. So if the numbers are the numbers and this is already how I'm living, what else am I to do, right? Yeah. That's kind of how I think about it. But with some of these, if it's really, especially for someone who isn't trying to be optimal every day, or there's really huge gaps in their training or their eating, to like literally lift heavier or walk more at a good clip, and like that's not hard to do. To make, and even if, again, you get hit by a fucking bus 2 years from now, if the quality of the 2 years, that's my whole thing with everything. Yep. I don't know the end. The end is going to come. None of us are getting out alive. I go, but for the time I'm here, if I can be strong and fast and mobile and fit and feel good, why would I not try to like live in this machine as long as I possibly can? Absolutely. And these things are helpful for that.
Till you can download your consciousness and do a machine.
Well, bro, we're getting there. AI's cooked us, dude. We're fucking getting there. Where can these guys, I'll put everything in the show notes, but where do these guys find you at? What's the best way to like get in the door, or how do they hook up with you?
Yeah, our website, scottsdale.dexafit.com. We're appointment only, although we have same-day appointments almost every day.
And like to do all the tests, you're talking like less than an hour probably?
The testing itself, so we offer 4 tests. We didn't talk about the 3D movement assessment.
Which is like for these guys, it's like FMS, similar. They have you go through overhead squat, dorsal flexion, hip hinge, and essentially snap. You must have like some kind of system.
We have a LiDAR camera, hits you with 60,000 points of light, 240 times a second, measures everything to like within 1 degree. And it basically tells you
how fucked up you are.
Yeah, like take my rotator cuff. I use that machine kind of like once a week to see if I was getting my range of motion back and to what degree. But the other thing that maybe isn't slightly more important is like quality of movement. So when we put you in an overhead squat, are you having any sort of pelvic tilt or shift? Are you leaning more towards one side or the other? Because when you put load on, like if you're trying to like take my body, like I think my max back squat was 355. So let's just say I'm trying to do 315. If I have any hitch in the giddy up, or if I'm like favoring one side or the other, like I'm putting my back under a lot of stress and a lot of load. I want to make sure that shit's dialed in. That's the type of stuff we can tell you, and do it when you're not under load, so that when you are under load, that you're healthy. It's that kind of thing. Do you have anything that gives you like higher propensity for injury that we want to see?
And some of it, and you guys probably or inherently don't know. Like I went in, what was it, last week? Were there? Give or take?
Yeah.
I woke up and had like a sprained ankle. That's the age I'm at, which is my ankle's sprained for no fucking reason. And it's just tight as fuck.
Yeah.
And again, typically my calf tightness and the tops of my feet, tib, it's just always been tight. Like even as like a college athlete. And dorsal flexion on one is like 15 points less.
Yeah.
I'm probably because of the swelling and the tightness. I go, but you can feel those things.
Yeah.
At least if you have I have body awareness, like I know.
Yeah.
But most people don't. And if I squat, there's a hip hike slightly on the one side versus the other. Now again, the information's great. To change it, you got to fucking work your dick off to like really improve a lot of those things. And
Absolutely.
that's my take with like the overhead squatting in general. Not to get off topic, for CrossFit, most people can't overhead squat for shit anyway. And then you're gonna put them under load. It's fucking bonkers, dude.
Yeah, they can't put themselves in a position where they can properly support the weight. Yeah,
with nothing. And now you're gonna load them up with a barbell.
Yeah.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah,
that's crazy. I go, but it is nice to see, like, it's quick, it's simple, it's fast, it's easier than FMS to do, honestly. And it is. When I read through it, I'm like, it looks pretty much like on par with how I feel.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So if you had injuries, like if you tore an ACL, or if you had like a hip issue, knee issue, it's probably it shows up in whatever way it shows up for you. And if you watch it, because I'm on camera all the time, we watch ourselves move enough, you do the screens like, okay, I can see.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
And for untrained people, it's watching their body, because we make a 3D model of them and turn them into a stick figure and show them on video like how they're moving. They'll be like on overhead squat, which is the most complex thing that we measure.
For sure.
They're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was leaning that far forward. It's like, yeah, that's why you shouldn't put load overhead and do an overhead squat. It's because you're not able to keep yourself upright enough to keep the load on your hips and your quads. You're putting it on your lower back, and it's going to destroy you.
And that one, I'll get you out of here, but then that one specifically, because it's so fucking gross. Like, if you understand training at all, like ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility, your thoracic spine, and shoulder mobility.
Yep.
All of those things have to work right to overhead squat.
Yeah.
Do you know the fucking rarity of a human who's 40 years old who like has all those pieces that hasn't trained ollie lifts at scale forever? Like, it's insane.
They're Olympians or Olympic adjacent.
Yeah, like a normal dude. Like it's even if you have everything else perfect, just to have like the T-spine mobility and not have that tightness just from sitting at a desk and typing, whatever.
Yeah,
it is cool to see though. It's a neat.
I will say though that if a weight can help you get into better positions, so don't try and go and say I'm going to do 185-pound overhead squats, but if you can do it with the bar and start practicing with that, like you can start opening, that weight can help opening up.
100%.
Yeah.
Like when you have pistol squats, it's easier for me to hold 15-pound dumbbells and push out versus just body weight.
Yeah.
So sometimes the counterbalance is beneficial. So website, social media, all that stuff.
Yeah. We're on Insta. I think we're on LinkedIn too. We're not looking to hire right now, but Facebook. We just started TikTok. Yeah, we're pretty active on social media too.
Nice, dude. And if they want to come in, just go to the site. They can book it, whatever, bundle it, or just pick something that they want to do.
Absolutely.
Nice, dude. Anything I missed here?
No, thanks for having me on. It was great. Good conversation.
2 hours, 15 minutes in. We're rocking, bro.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
I didn't look at my watch once.
Shit flies, bro. I'll put all the DexaFit stuff in the show notes. If you guys got a question, reach out, hit them up. It's easy, quick, it's simple, and very detailed, like full packet breakdowns. And then if you scan, you got a QR code on the front.
Yeah.
That can kind of take you on a journey of all the stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's if nothing else, like if you train and exercise, that's a nice baseline to have. If nothing else, like just do the Dexa scan. Like that seems like the easiest. I do think the calorie in, calorie out of the RMR stuff, and because you basically can almost fall asleep and not fall asleep and do it, that's simple too. But they're all great. And if you're somebody who trains and runs on any of the erg shit too, or to know your VO2 max, if nothing else, to see where you're at, I think is kind of a neat thing. So. Yeah, I'll put all things in the show notes. I appreciate it, dude. This has been awesome. If you guys are on Spotify, drop it a 5-star, leave a comment. Same thing on Apple Podcasts, 5-star, leave a comment. You want a free sample of AG1, hit me up. Summer Advanced Metcon is rocking now inside the Jeremy Scott Fitness app. Everything is in the show notes for you guys. And that's it. So until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.